Today we have gathered for you over 3 hours of the entire Cars cinematic universe. You may think you've seen all of Cars content since there are 3 movies, right? Absolutely no, that is not the case. As in actuality, there's a handful of spin-offs and in-universe stories going on that we've slowly covered over the years, leading up to today where we have 7 main projects to go through, those being not just the Cars movies, but the Planes movies, as well as Trains too. Bet it was real hard to come up with those project ideas, huh? It's mostly just vehicles with eyes, but what can you do? Additionally, we'll also be covering a spin-off series for the Cars characters, and though there is even more material like tiny shorts or Mater's Tall Tales, I felt like they were a little bit too minuscule to count on a larger scale. Each of these 7 projects alone are well over an hour. So kick your feet up, I've got some timestamps down below in the description, if I remember to add them. But otherwise, enjoy just about 3 hours of the fully extended Cars cinematic universe. And not all of it's made by Pixar. Well, starting with the opening scene, we couldn't really get off to much of a stronger start. Ignore the fact that somehow a truck knocks on the door. This scene is absolutely phenomenally executed. The initial inner monologue cutting between pitch black and the smash cuts of the race sets the tone perfectly. It's a shame there was absolutely no way of going into this movie without knowing that this is a world of anthropomorphic cars, as otherwise that initial reveal of him coming out the truck would have been a right laugh. Even knowing the full context, I still like that touch. Once he's out the truck, Pixar absolutely dive in with yes, they're all cars, with crowd shots that look like they took absolute months to pull off. I mean, the detail in this opening scene just looks so expensive. As for the race itself, you can't beat such well-executed action combined with that Sheryl Crow song. Real gone. The adrenaline my 10-year-old self got from this scene was off the scales. This was a real showcase of how far Pixar had come in animation. Even the reflective surfaces on the cars are something to appreciate. The lights, the smoke on the track, they pulled all of this off a solid 13 years before the photorealistic cat in Toy Story 4. The sound choices in this scene are so visceral as well. The roaring engine of a car is often characterized as something that's alive, so you've got to deliver on that when living cars are literally the premise of your movie. I gotta say it. Even just Lightning's engine alone gives him a physicality and weight just through the use of sound. And it's the kind of filmmaking I've not really paid attention to in the Cars movies before this point. Whilst this is also a thinly disguised exposition dump, I do think the commentaries setting up the 3 main races also worked in pretty seamlessly. This all just comes across as an organic part of the world building which sets up the core rivalry whilst not feeling forced. The fact that they're voiced by actual racing commentators also just adds that extra layer of authenticity. I wish I knew sports and could be more uproarious about each casting choice. But if you want to get your audience to buy into the commentary of a fictional race, yeah, get a couple of guys who have professionally done it a million times over. This commentary also doesn't give us everything. The fact that Lightning is set up as the rookie gives that initial investment of wanting to root for him before we find out that he may not actually be the nicest guy in the world. I like that they generally keep that personality trait behind the curtain for the opening race. With both the silly slow motion shot of him winking and refusing to replace his tires, all we really get is that he's a bit of a show-off and has a sometimes ill-judged sense of determination. However, someone we do find out's a piece of work from the get-go is Chick. In a movie where the protagonist is also full of himself, you need the villain of the piece to double down on that. It's interesting because you can't really call him the story's main antagonist either. He really has nothing to do with the story other than the beginning and end of it. However, as the unlikable rival to Lightning, he fits the bill perfectly. Also, I didn't realize until recently he was voiced by Michael Keaton, a guy who's done a surprising amount with living cars for Disney, being in Herbie Fully Loaded the previous year. Remember that movie? Now that's nostalgic. You need tires, you idiot! Of course, the tire skipping incident comes back to haunt McQueen right as he nears the finish line. This movie is only minutes in at this point, yet it still manages to create genuine tension, albeit with a bit of a silly crescendo with him jumping along. To be fair, that's one argument in favor of something you couldn't have done in a human world setting. Throughout this whole opening race, they do the legwork to get you invested in the action, which is hard to do in a fictionalized game of sport. I've said before about how I kind of have a hard time getting invested in fiction sports scenes, as the whole appeal of sport is the spontaneity of the outcome, you know? The realness. In animation, even more so, you know? However, here, I can fully buy into it. With both the main races in this movie, the results are genuinely different to where most audiences probably thought they were going on the first watch. I know how I said the final sprint is otherwise a little bit silly, but I do find the referees reviewing the footage with the tongue to be pretty funny. Meanwhile, following the race, we get the first full taste of Lightning being a bit of an a-hole.
How will I ever find anyone else who knows how to fill me up with gas?
Which is quite a bold move for the lead of your movie. I mean, this is the studio who had to rework the original Toy Story because Woody was too unlikable. To have such a brashly arrogant character as the protagonist can be a huge turn-off, but I think they handle it well in this case. This is why I bring up the opening race so much, where they don't drop these characteristics on you immediately. You're almost tricked to partially buy into the character before his toxic traits are introduced. And sorry if that just sounds like your relationship history. And sticking to the topic of morally questionable guys, this adult joke turns up.
We're like your biggest fans! Ka-chow!
Yep, it's a flashing joke. As we say, it's made for everybody. Lest we forget who directed this. We also have Lightning's pit stop crew walk out on him, also showing he's not the biggest team player in the world either. And at this point, I'd definitely like to shout out Owen Wilson's voice performance for somehow not making him completely unlikable at this point. You definitely need someone to bring an air of charm when the main character's otherwise just an arrogant show-off who has to go on a journey to learn to be a nice person, you know? Kinda reminds me of Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day, but you know, with cars. We also then get a full introduction to the King. Cue daydream sequence that seemed to spawn off a whole range of toys all by itself. Yes, Lightning doesn't really listen and just thinks about the gas station from Toy Story sponsoring him, which does raise the question of whether dinosaurs are a thing in this universe. I mean, I guess they're kind of eating liquid dinosaur, and dinosaurs do exist in the wider Pixar world, technically. What we do know is that Lightning thinks he's a one-man show and doesn't need anyone's input to get where he wants to be. Wow, this guy sure has a lot to learn. I wonder if there's a whole movie about that. Not to worry, this guy gets his first slice of humble pie when he prematurely pops out on stage, presuming he's won. But by the touch of a tongue, it's a three-way tie. So they've got a rematch elsewhere. Seems simple enough. What could possibly go wrong? Before Lightning can head off, Mac's on hand to make sure he fills his sponsorship agreement.
You gotta make your personal appearance.
That being an ointment for rusty cars, which, judging by the clientele, doesn't seem to work so well. It's a nice additional note to establish Lightning's detachment from everyone, whilst also setting up a rusty car prejudice that'll pay off when...
Morning, Sleeping Beauty!
Oh, dear God, help us all. Before we get there, though, we first have one of the all-time great road trip needle drops. Yes, I'm talking about Life is a Highway.
Life is a highway.
Honestly, this soundtrack has some absolute winners. And I think it's interesting because obviously this is in its own regard a pop culture song choice, but it is also a cover made expressly for this movie and also is pretty on point for what's actually going on rather than just shoving in a song randomly because here's the high montage moment or something. Plus, I mean, with the whole premise of the movie, yeah, all of life
Is a highway.
in this world. Not to mention, it's yet more of Pixar showcasing we could literally just animate the real world now. I mean, the landscapes in this sequence are just insane, and they're certainly not the last we'll see. They pop up for just a matter of seconds, yet you can still tell that they went all in on them. That's just Pixar, man. Anyway, this sequence ends with Lightning's call with his agent, who, in the UK at least, is indeed voiced by Jeremy Clarkson.
And it is such an honor to be your agent.
Mr. British Cars man himself, turned farmer, turned tax avoider. I think it's a really interesting example of how Cars puts in so many celebrity voice casts, but more as cameos in a way to not, you know, completely Chris Prattify a movie. And this is back in 2006. It's a really interesting display of casting choices, which admittedly, I never even ever noticed, but hey, that's just me. It's still very, very cool that they did this. It's easy to overlook this bit, but it's also the only insight we get into Lightning's loneliness until much later on. As Harv tells him to invite his friends, it becomes quite apparent from what he doesn't say that he doesn't have any.
Mr. Popper, there's so many friends you can't even narrow it down.
Considering how unlikable he is in the previous scene, this one crack in the armor adds a whole other layer to the character. We need at least a hint of him unfulfilled so that certain decisions he makes later on don't just come out of nowhere. The clues are all planted here, and I like that this isn't even overemphasized. You know, it doesn't need to be. I don't need a Hamlet self-pitying monologue from Lightning McQueen, as entertaining as that would probably sound. On to Mac getting sleepy and Lightning proceeding to overwork his one remaining employee. Always stop when you're getting tired on the road, people. Not only could you die in a horrific crash, but your passenger could fall into the road in their sleep before narrowly missing a train and then panic destroying the road of a small nearby town, which they'll then have to repair through a community service sentence. Hate it when that happens, but that's how it unfolds here. But first, we have the neon cars taunting Sleepy Mac. These characters remind me of the sort of people I get anxiety walking past in the street. What do you know, I'm triggered by glow-in-the-dark cars. Through shenanigans, lightning ends up in the road and the chaos ensues. This scene pulling off that sense of panic very well as well. As lightning looks on at the hordes of identical trucks, it takes you right back to losing your parents in a busy setting. Of course, instead of staying on the main road, lightning instead takes a turn towards the rest of the movie. They spent a lot of time animating this town, you can't just skip it.
He's shooting at me! Why is he shooting at me?
Gotta love America. From the loud action, we cut to some contrasting establishing shots that perfectly set up the sleepy town of Radiator Springs. Again, the sound editing choices in this are absolutely stellar. And in 2 short gags, we quickly get a picture of what life's been like in this town. Between Guido repeatedly correcting the tire every time the wind blows it and Sergeant Fillmore looking at the broken traffic light.
Every third blink is slower.
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
Gotta love this movie's vision of peace. And the best gags are the ones that tell the story at the same time, and everything we need to know about the personality of this town is on show here. The incoming destruction wouldn't have its intended worlds collide effect if we weren't first quickly caught up to speed with the peace, or perhaps dullness, that was being disrupted. After all, the whole town noticed and is in the courtroom the next day. They also don't go half measures on the destruction. I love how unnecessarily elaborate it is. I can only imagine the storyboard stage going like, so the barbed wire fence now wraps around him and then gets stuck on a statue and then pulls out of its plinth and then drags it along the road before launching it off a trailer and then it fires into a telephone wire. You know, sounds plausible enough. We love organized scripted chaos. And then we quickly cut to the empty trailer for a dash of toilet humor.
What? Did I forget to wipe my mud flaps?
Before being introduced to the MVP of the Cars universe.
Morning, Sleeping Beauty!
Now, for those expecting me to go all in on a meta takedown, just a thesis character assassination, I'm not quite going to today. I'm not a huge fan of the character, but in this movie at least, he serves his comedy sidekick role solidly enough. He has some solid comedy beats peppered in there, but on the flip side, there is also
You're in love with Miss Sally.
where the character's a tad piercing, which Cars 2 saw as an invitation to double down on.
Do not eat the free pistachio ice cream.
Dark times indeed. And coming out of that second movie, he kind of became Pixar's Jar Jar Binks in many ways. There's a reason his role somewhat reduced in the third one, though the damage was already done by that point. And I appreciate it's hard to go back to the first one without the stench of how overexposed the character was after this point. But honestly, here he's fine. Not an all-time classic character by any stretch, but harmless. As for the rest of the town, as we get into the court scene, I really like the ensemble we have here. In researching for this movie, the animators were actually sent on a Route 66 road trip where they went to a small town that inspired Radiator Springs. Whether it was an Italian barber, an old trinket shop, a tattoo parlor, or a 50s style diner, it was all there, and you can see that reflected in the characters. The bulk of this movie relies on the audience buying into this small community, and the reason it works is a sense of truth behind it. Who knows, maybe even Mater was based on someone, other than the very iconic voice of the voice actor Larry the Cable Guy.
Shoot, I'll do it, Sheriff.
We get the introduction of Doc Hudson, which I believe was the final major film role for legendary actor Paul Newman, and though he probably wasn't looking for the Talking Cars movie to be his final performance, it's definitely a strong role to go out on. I mean, he's great in this, and it's very fitting for a bona fide classic Hollywood star to voice a character that, as we learn, is meant to have a similar kind of status. In fact, fun bit of trivia here, Doc Hudson's big 1954 crash is the same year as Paul Newman's first credited on-screen role. He's perhaps the most important character in telling this movie's story, so it's good that they went all in on the casting here. Even the character design sits with the vocal performance so well, which can't be easy when every character has to be, you know, a car. Anyway, he's both the judge and the local doctor, again painting a good picture of how small and isolated this town is, and on noticing Lightning's race car characteristics, immediately wants him gone. We love an unbiased judge.
Holy Portia.
But then we're introduced to Sally, and yes, we have the uncomfortable, objectifying Sally bit now.
All you have to do now is stand there and let me look at you.
Another quick reminder of who the co-director is, though ultimately he gets his just desserts as then she convinces Doc to put Lightning on community service to repave the road.
Nice ruling.
Because that's what you get from harassment, folks. Though, like every movie, they do end up together in the end. I'm glad we eventually learned that not every female lead has to hook up with the male one by the end. But first, Lightning gets hooked up with Bessie. It's kind of interesting which vehicles are anthropomorphized and which aren't. For her sake, oh, Bessie's not alive anyway. With the Lightning escape attempt, the incredibly put together vast landscapes do make me think that executed another way, this would have been a solid horror movie premise. Imagine if it was humans and this guy got abducted by an isolated town, dragging this road paving machine by hand, and the locals know exactly when you'll run out of steam on an escape attempt. Horrifying. Back to the road paving, and I, to this day, have no idea what Mate is saying.
You should have heard me on Giddy Up, Papa Mile Mile.
If you just told me Larry the Cable Guy was just left to talk in the sound booth for this, I'd believe you. Also, why would he has his name listed like that in his credits? Like he's Lady Gaga or something. Fair game. To be fair, what's equally funny is people reacting to Ariana Grande using her real name in the Wicked credits, as if a new Pope's been announced. Anyway, back to the talking cars, we get clued into just how quiet things have been for this town.
Customers! Customers, everyone! Customers!
I think this scene's a particularly strong one too. I think a lot of us have been somewhere where the shopkeepers all step out and try to win you over. And I can absolutely imagine the real town along Route 66 being like this. I hope they did get a boost in tourism after this movie. It's not like they're hassling the couple in an unpleasant, greedy way either. You can tell they are genuinely proud of their business and don't often get an opportunity to get people in. However, that doesn't mean we can't relate to the couple as well. And that dynamic of the self-assured husband being too stubborn to ask for any help or directions, with the wife being receptive to listen, is, though maybe a tad stereotypical, you know, we've all seen that couple, haven't we? Despite Lightning ultimately screaming in their faces and them swiftly driving off, Sally's attempt at keeping things optimistic is a small moment but says a lot about her character and clinging onto hope from very little of it.
They're gonna tell their friends. You'll see.
Overhearing on the radio that Chick's arrived in California, we do have another daydream moment, this time with Chick having a Dynaco glory. The twins pop up again as the weird side piece in this fantasy. Man, the way they use them in this movie just keeps getting worse. We're not even on the bit where this daydream becomes real, and they do actually have so little agency that they switch over to being fans of Chick. Like, what happened? Lightning vanished for days and that was enough for them? Wouldn't they care more considering he's missing? Did Chick, like, do anything with them over those few days? Why are they always fantasized as a package deal as well? Aren't they like sister? I find this whole premise in the movie weird. Anyway, parking that, no pun intended, this vision sends Lightning into a panic, proceeding to rush through the job, which goes about as well as you'd expect.
It looks awful.
Matches the rest of the town.
Yep, that character growth is still yet to kick in.
If I win, you do the road my way.
I like that Doc challenging Lightning to a race doesn't ultimately hint anything that we learn later about his past, whilst also making sense on retrospect. It's a clue you don't really realize is a clue, if that makes sense. It's good writing, you know? You don't really overthink at the time how Doc knew Lightning would crash, but absolutely makes sense on the rewatch. So yeah, he crashes, and he's back on with Bessie. However, then seeing the first part of the road finish the next morning, I appreciate that there's also an element of consistency for Lightning's character. He's an arrogant, self-absorbed guy, but like any high-performing sports person would be, he's determined to reach his goal and not afraid to put the work in to achieve that. That's right, he's driven. You're welcome. Which is only further apparent by him going back to the dirt track to try and correct his mistake. This scene's consistent with the playbook of the sports movie genre, which weirdly Pixar would repeat in Inside Out 2. Wonder what the emotions in the Cars universe looks like. Hey there, you've made it halfway through this video. Come and subscribe if you want to keep up with other amazing movie deep dives. Give us some suggestions for the new year. And let's get back to the second half of Disney Pixar's Amazing Cars. The determined protagonist goes to the track or pitch to get in early morning practice before an older mentor figure interrupts them. Except instead of an older hockey player who was definitely a love interest in an earlier draft of the movie, it's a car voiced by Paul Newman. Pixar, they certainly have some creative prompts. It's here we get our first indicator. Can I claim indicator as a pun? It's here we get our first indicator that Doc does know more than he's letting on, only for Lightning to once again refuse to be seen taking advice from another person. Only for him to then immediately try it, and big surprise, doesn't go to plan. Back with Bessie, we see the townsfolk becoming warmer with the moody race car after being visibly pleased with the new road. With a brief cameo from the law enforcement's approach to peaceful protesters. This includes the classic awkward back and forth between romantic leads, building up to...
You're in love with Miss Sally.
Okay,
I know he's actually fixed a bit of the road now, but we've leapt considerably from their last scene together
It looks awful.
to...
I'd let you stay with me.
coming up with me.
We won't get into certain logistical questions posed by those undertones. There's plenty of Cars logic videos out there. I'm sure there's several talking about that too. Regardless, Lightning has another moment of...
Let me look at you.
checking out the equivalent of a tattoo sticking out the top of a woman's jeans, like any classic road worker would do. Similarly, don't take this romantic advice either.
You know, I used to crash into her just so I could spoke to her.
Yeesh. How about we move over to a 5-minute fart joke sequence instead? Yeah, that sounds better. Again, not my kind of humor personally, but it does function in building Lightning and Mater's chemistry. Admittedly, I do also think the incorporation of tractors as cattle was a pretty inventive approach. Like, why exactly do cars need tractors as livestock? Don't worry about it. Let them drink their tractor milk in peace. Personally, I wouldn't put my new friend's life at risk, and laughing whilst I was at it. That's absolute psychopath behavior, but hey, you do genuinely buy these two as buds by the end of the scene. Even if ultimately it's used to spell out the romantic subplot.
You're in love with Miss Sally.
It does kind of work having Mater as that teasing friend on the school playground. They just want kids to relate to these characters. But for me, this does get a little bit...
You love her, you love her, you love her.
All right,
you love her.
okay.
Shut up! You can't really even call this a will they, won't they at this point when you've got Larry the cable guy shouting, "They will!" before crashing into a tree. Inevitably, having overheard the whole ordeal, Sally goes in for another hesitant chemistry-building conversation.
Newly refurbished, right?
Yeah. Good night.
Next morning, another solid Sergeant Fillmore gag both confirms that Jimi Hendrix is in the Cars universe, but also once again leaves you wondering, how did Cars play guitar? Time for another nightmare, this time the Combine Harvester getting all the car kisses. To be fair, I did find this one funny. Rule of 3, guys. I'm guessing they've made merch out of that alarm clock at some point. I mean, they've done at least 7 variants of every character seen on screen, so there might as well be room for an alarm clock. And then to the surgery where...
Hey, have you seen the sheriff?
Emotional damage.
Prostate exam joke. Honestly, probably the best use of the Cars logic to sneak in an adult joke. I think it's great, though the sheriff does seem weirdly enthusiastic.
Get a good peek, city boy.
Anyway, that leads us to the big reveal.
3 piston cups.
This is the part of the movie I'm particularly here for. Try as they might to get through the romantic subplot with Sally, or his friendship with Mater, or just the slow town in general. But it's the begrudgingly growing chemistry between Lightning and Doc Hudson where this movie really sings. From resentment to discovering the reason for the resentment to the ultimate resolution for that resentment. And lest we forget the line that ultimately feeds into the climax.
All I see is a bunch of empty cups.
Although Lightning's begun to become warmer as a character, this line is what begins his journey towards reassessing his relationship with racing. To see this supposed legend neglect what Lightning sacrificed any scrap of life outside of racing for is something he can't even compute at this point. And yet the fact that he's kept them also hints towards Doc not quite being over his past as much as he tells himself otherwise. With not much spelled out, unlike the Sally plotline, there's so much going on in these scenes with these characters. On to Mater's best joke in the whole movie.
He won 3 piston cups.
He did what in his cup?
No notes. They made me laugh at his character, good job. I wouldn't be surprised if they called it the Piston Cup just for that moment, nor would I blame them. After everyone unknowingly hurting Doc's feelings, look at the poor guy's face, we get the scene where I do buy into the Sally relationship a little bit more.
Come on, let's take a drive.
A drive?
The thing about Cars that I think some people don't like is that for a movie that revolves around a car race, it's actually a pretty small-scale and low-key movie. There's not a lot of Cars antics. A point that just makes me even more angry about Cars 2. It's not a rampantly paced adventure like Finding Nemo. There aren't high stakes like Monsters Inc. You spend most of the movie in one dull town where the protagonist's goal is to finish paving a road so we can get to a race in time. In that respect, I can see why a lot of people see that as a negative, myself included when I think about the movie as a whole, really. However, it's moments like the drive scene that make me appreciate the different tone we get from this movie. Through the visuals alone, we just have 2 characters enjoying each other's company whilst taking in the impeccably animated visuals. It's the scene that just showcases the pure joy of what can be done in animation. This was the first CG movie to be able to pull off landscapes that look this convincing. And sure, other movies can have that and keep a more engaging pace, but I can't admit that there is something to be enjoyed about the quieter moments here. Considering that this movie's qualities being naturally more appealing to a younger audience includes these moments is quite a brave thing to do. And in defense of the weird Cars universe, would anyone have given this a smaller scale story the same time of day if it had been done with human characters? Later in this scene, we learn of Sally's past being in the big city, which also gives us insight into Lightning not being as happy as he lets on.
It never felt happy.
Yeah. I mean,
Going back to that moment early doors of not being able to name any friends. From incredible views and redeeming this otherwise shoehorned romantic beat, we get the flashback montage to when Radiator Springs was a thriving town. Whilst I find the initial leading of the lyrics literally going,
Long ago, the world was different.
very subtle. I wonder what the message of this scene will be. I otherwise find the scene to be pretty effective, particularly returning to it knowing that this is based on a real town that experienced this. The idea that this community was pushed aside and largely forgotten. All too often we see people on a smaller scale sidelined by the demands of the masses. As the world gets bigger, the individual gets smaller, something that a celebrity like Lightning McQueen wouldn't initially relate to. And the best stories are the ones that highlight how every individual and community has a story that matters, something that the world could do with remembering once in a while. And writing a character that is so detached from that at first just to smash him into that reality is also just good storytelling. Anyway, as they get back, we get a reprise of the tractor cattle gag. And somehow thinking he can retrieve one of these tractors, Lightning comes across Doc in full racing gear. Another great scene, once again showcasing how good the animation around driving actually is. I guess when you're the leading studio in computer animation and you're basing an entire movie around cars, the driving's gotta look somewhat convincing. Whilst driving isn't really my thing, for the animators behind these sequences, it clearly is, as the joy of driving is very much celebrated here. The callback to turn right to go left is a particularly great shot. I mean, just look at that. They had to animate dust for this shot. Can't last forever though, as he realizes that schmuck under arrest is nosing in on the action. Not getting the memo, Lightning stalks him back to his sorrow garage just in time for the tragic backstory.
right.
Great, now I get to see a car on its lunch break reading a newspaper. Though I do appreciate the fact that the paper's called The Daily Exhaust. I could name a few newspapers that should rename themselves to that.
There was a lot left in me. I never got a chance to show 'em.
Oh, gotta give it to Paul Newman for getting genuine emotion into the voice of this talking car. You find yourself genuinely feeling sorry for this car, feeling like he was written off too early. For any of us who have older people in our lives who experience that same kind of feeling, I think this scene definitely hits that spot. It also makes sense that Doc then came into this community, a place for people who the world have written off, but they have each other. Hitting this point home, Doc then asks Lightning,
When is the last time you cared about something except yourself, Hot Rod?
this is arguably the most important point for Lightning's character in this whole movie. Everything else, whether the scene in this room earlier or his drive with Sally, are also contributors to the cracks, but this is the moment that all comes together and his worldview ultimately shatters. From the beginning, we've known Lightning's key demons are self-absorption and loneliness, and this scene forces him to face exactly why that is. The reward of the subsequent scene wouldn't have been as great as it is if we didn't first have this point fully punctuated first. The same goes for Doc's subsequent actions, still clearly resentful of Lightning and what he represents. On to the next day, we get the predictable but nice enough beat of Lightning's false exit, complete with comic relief character not realizing he's left after all, despite him stood right next to him.
What's wrong with Red?
He's just sad 'cause you left.
I've seen a million versions of that, but whatever. I do then really enjoy Lightning's philanthropy spree of helping out all the local businesses.
Tires can get me all the way to California.
A rare example of a rich guy realizing he can help people, what do you know? It's just a nice feel-good scene and a rewarding turning point for the character, topped off with the illumination scene. No, not that one. As well as the solid 1950s vibes, the neon colors reflecting off the various surfaces being incredibly pleasing to look at, this is the full coming together moment of the town accepting Lightning into their community. Quite a transition from arresting him and strapping him to a road paver. It's the completion of a character journey set up from the beginning, the self-proclaimed one-man show finding his community. There are some light gags here and there, but the main thing we see in this scene are the characters just enjoying the moment. If this was, we'd be roped into yet another dance sequence. But dare I say, there's genuine warmth to this scene. And Sure, the bits with Lightning and Sally are nice here as well. Again, from establishing those small details showcasing her care for the town earlier on, we understand how much this will all mean to her. But it can't stay like this forever, of course. As with many things, the media come along to ruin the fun.
It's the ghost light!
Cool, that's the bonus short film on the DVD nicely set up. A small detail I like here is Sally's look of shock at Lightning's face on the trailer. It shows that she genuinely didn't realize how famous Lightning is, which also further cements her feelings for him are in no relation to that, if that wasn't clear already.
Thanks for the call.
You called them?
Being ushered away, the reveal that Doc was the one that tipped the press suddenly puts him in the position that Lightning was just days earlier, the others turning away from him in disappointment.
Hey, Lightning, you ready?
It's finale time as we go back to how we met Lightning at the start, in his trailer, In the Dark. Initially repeating the motions of the opening, just through visuals we see how his priorities have changed. Even as Chick taunts him about the twins' changing alliance, again, creepy. Thanks, John Lasseter, once again, great. Lightning doesn't care anymore. He's a relationship guy now. As his daydreams initially distract him, it initially looks like the race doesn't even matter to him anymore. However, the crowd-pleasing finale beats begin as a familiar voice comes over the comms.
I don't think
I didn't come all this way to see you quit.
Yeah, we're now at the completion of Doc's Arc 2, the one who'd previously been all for the abandonment of the game. I gotta say, I can't think of many movies where the reluctant mentor figure only gets on this late in the game. Even in Cool Runnings, John Candy's on side before the halfway point. It's another sweet moment that solidifies the message you can go after your ambitions, but you're all the better for not abandoning your life outside of it in the process. When you prioritize both, one can even help the other. It's not that the races shouldn't matter anymore, it does, but it shouldn't be all that matters. And this scene, of course, is peppered with some great moments.
It's time.
With many a pleasing callbacks to go around, whether gags or what Lightning's learned from his friends. However, the thing that makes this scene is how it ends, as Chick shoves King into a wreckage.
I am not coming in behind you again, old man.
It's not sugarcoated either, it is a nasty looking crash. Honestly, when I was a kid, I'd get so annoyed that Lightning didn't cross first, then go back for the King. You know, kind of completely missing the whole point of the scene and the movie as a whole. It's hard to make the point that there's more to the game than just winning if the guy went for the win first before doing the thing. You know, we'd be kind of disingenuous that way. Obviously, that doesn't happen, stopping in front of the finish line, letting Chick fly past him. You really don't appreciate how well the sound captures the stadium atmosphere until this moment where it all falls into silence. Flashing back to when the same happened to Doc, Lightning's character journey is complete. It's an outcome that I think's genuinely surprising for first-time viewers, and as annoyed as I was as a kid, I think it's one of the movie's strongest moments. Lightning still gets the big celebratory ending, and he didn't need to win to get that. He's instead celebrated for an act of selflessness, which is a profound message to send to younger viewers. Clearly that message didn't get to me at the time, but what can you do? The crowd cheering, the pride in Doc's eyes, man, this movie does deserve more credit, doesn't it? The epilogue with Mater and the helicopter's a fun enough ending for kids and all that. Kind of interesting they squeeze in that Lightning McQueen's no longer prejudiced towards rusty cars just before that as well, but this is the perfect ending for me. And though Cars 2 added quite a significant damage to the general representation of the Cars franchise, I mean, I think that's personally why I didn't return to the franchise for years. I think it's particularly easy, especially with the billion-dollar toy business attached to these movies, to take a cynical retrospective on how these movies were just made for toy sales. And it's certainly fair to make that argument for why 2 sequels were made, as well as all the satellite shorts and TV series that they keep fueling for this property's relevance. And I don't think I'm the only one that has that more pessimistic opinion, at least before coming back to this on rewatch. However, scene by scene, I can now kind of see it's pretty well executed all the way along the board, even if it might have, to me, some larger scale branding issues. But digging into it at least a little bit deeper, this is why, looking back on this latest rewatch, Disney Pixar's Cars is ultimately pretty amazing. I get why it doesn't have the same love as other bits of the catalog. Some of the jokes have admittedly not aged very well. The logic of this universe's very existence is hard for some to get past, and Mater can indeed get annoying at times. However, in the initial golden age run from Toy Story to Toy Story 3, I think Cars is definitely worthy of its place in the story. It's not quite trying to tell a story with the same level of stakes stakes or action as other Pixar fares, but it's clear it's still a Pixar classic with all of the filmmaking prowess seeded into every moment. And who'd have thought it would still be possible at a small, forgotten town on Route 66 with the whiny Owen Wilson car. Now that's certainly a surprise. Ah, planes. Not quite cars, still somehow Disney. This was a quick 2-beat franchise on top of the already 3 Cars movies, the cancelled Trains movie, and a million different spin-offs, shorts, and miniseries that had Owen Wilson running around as that red race car. But the qualities of the 2 Planes movies couldn't be further apart. So here is a surprise turnaround from a small pocket of the universe of one of Pixar's classics. Here are our 2 full breakdowns of Disney's Planes and Disney's Planes Fire and Rescue. And with sponsorships all cut out. Wait, Planes actually exists? I always thought it was a stupid internet myth of a Cars sequel that never actually happened. Pixar never made an official Planes movie, so excuse me for not making this video a year sooner. I literally scrapped this as a video prompt back then because I didn't realize it was real. Turns out, it's official and done by Disney. But not Pixar, no, instead it's via Disney Toon Studios. Who's this? Another studio I have to keep track of now? Oh, that's pretty simple. They're the go-to for most dodgy sequels to all the major Disney movies. Return of Jafar, Brother Bear 2, Pocahontas 2, Lion King 2, basically all the 2s. Though they also made The Gold Mine that is a Goofy movie and Stitch has a glitch? Man, I need to get more in the know. But beyond doing every Disney sequel to varying success, they once did a Pixar spin-off. My apologies to those that suggested this. Futaba Forever, Verminator, Spider-Bat, and Nair. That one's from 2 years ago. This is presumably the terrible Planes movie. Yup, this is definitely unofficial. Even for 2013, isn't it a little late for just outright rock music in your face? Anyway, we've got these 2 official fighter jets doing their runs at training, talking about our super protagonist.
Is he really as good as they say he is? No.
Oh.
Better.
And here he is, just a dinky little flyplane, able to outspeed even fighter jet, flaring around them and all. Oh, never mind, it was just his imagination. Your classic power fantasy. Hey, wait a minute. Is the base shaped like an airplane? So in the Cars universe, terraforming is different around the globes depending on the population around it? First car mountains and now plane landscapes? Huh.
I am more than just a crop duster.
So while Cars was all about a city racer having to learn the rural ways, this is about a rural crop duster plane hoping to one day be a racer, with all the standard beats that come with it.
I mean, why would you want to give up crop dusting? Blue skies, no air traffic.
As well as some off choices for humor.
And that tangy scent of fired up mini mulch. Just like Mama used to spray.
Oh boy, this definitely ain't no Pixar script. Though what is the tying thread for this movie is one member of the team who co-wrote and executive produced this movie, everyone's favorite Pixar stain and chief creative officer at the time, John Lasseter. Oh, great. But now we know. So moving on, we now get to meet an actual car in our Planes movie. Hey, shouldn't that be illegal? His name's Chug, the fuel tank truck. He has some opinions about types of fuel, thinking the new stuff is stupid, how environmentally aware, but our protagonist spreads pesticides, so maybe that's not a surprise. But he likes corn fuel the best.
Corn. It gives you gas.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Schmo Yoho. But moving on from our second fart joke in under 3 minutes, Chug's secondary passion is in crew mating for plane racing, readying up to train Dusty Crop Hopper for the races.
You mean aileron?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
I'll get him next time. It's not a gunshot as much as it fully looks like it.
You've worn out your main oil seal.
Oh, that makes sense. And so it's an introductory scene to our engineer Dottie, who can immediately spot Dusty's attempts at pushing his body to race.
Dusty, you're not built to race. You're built to dust crops.
Man, is this gonna be another movie with the underbelly message kind of being about disabilities? Because it's kind of tragic sounding to be born into the wrong body in the Planes universe, you know? Don't count on it. As Dottie continues to kick Dusty down on even thinking about it.
Turbine failure.
Turbine
Oh
failure?
no, I'm going down. Oh my gosh,
What?
the orphanage.
Oof. mascot is a little full on, but it doesn't deter the boys who are ecstatic for the Wings Around the World races while just watching the top 10 crashes on TV.
Whoa,
Not good.
How does that happen?
In the logic of the planes world, isn't this essentially like watching Live Leak? Like, they are practically watching footage of their own people dying, especially if it's the best of all time.
Oh, man.
I'm okay. Ooh, that's gotta hurt.
Jesus Christ, this world is brutal! But with Chug getting nervous, we come to ask a veteran plane for help, Skipper.
I heard you shot down 50 planes.
You looking to be number 51?
Oof. You know, this character is one big Easter egg. Turns out we've seen him before in Cars Toons, another spin-off miniseries to Cars. Specifically, Air Mater, where Mater talks about how he learned how to fly through this Skipper dude.
I'm Skipper.
Can you learn me how to fly?
But, you're a tow truck.
He's suddenly a lot friendlier in the Cars universe. Anyway, after failing to convince him, Dusty gets the door slammed in his face. But how did he shut the door? Now we're here at the qualifiers.
I don't know how you talked me into coming to this.
Yeah, I don't either. You make no sense being here. It's a simple obstacle course. Fly between the pylons normally or vertically. Everyone else has had their go with one having a character trait.
Man, that's nasty.
And at the end, it's Dusty's turn.
Now, you know you built for speed, not speed.
Nice of you to take the day off just to lose.
How do you think it's gonna go when everyone is literally built to be as aerodynamic as possible against Dusty's crop design here?
Oh, yes, what a finish. Now, that's what you call flying. Way to go, Dustmeister.
He was 10 milliseconds slower than the guy we saw near the beginning. The proper professional. Milliseconds. I mean, go off, achieve your dreams, but I guess forget physics along the way. That being said, this whole racing sequence is actually really good and dynamic. The soundtrack in the background is properly putting some work in to make you feel motivated for planes, and the voice acting is stellar throughout. Not to mention the cinematography splits into panels from multiple angles on the main event. It's actually really surprisingly good. There's a little bit of that Cars secret formula in there somewhere, but Dusty places 6th. It's just not enough, and so he mopes. Oh shit, there's a plane heading for our house! Seriously, why does this look like a sad scene from Interstellar or something? But of course, the plot can't actually stick around as just this, though maybe I'd want to see a slice of life in a fantasy land one day. As this forklift arrives with some news.
Strut Jetstream? Nope, doesn't ring a bell.
Movies like this always like to waste your time, don't they? It's always the same joke with varying degrees of actually successful comedy. But you can't miss every time.
Actually pronounced Dusty Crop Hopper.
This guy and his staring is probably a highlight so far. I mean, they use it again to make another damn compost joke, but...
Oh, yeah, smell that? It's like daffodils and...
I'm willing to allow it. Anyway, Dusty's qualified since our main guy was apparently blood doping, but with fuel. And just like that, this guy disappears, and the whole town of unestablished characters cheers Dusty on. And to add on to that, Skipper makes his reappearance, telling him to quit.
You'll end up a smoking hole on the side of a mountain with your parts spread over 5 countries.
I mean, Christ, this is some disgustingly graphic imagery we're going with here. I just can't fathom how much of a leap we've gotten just because we're suddenly in the air now. Why do I want a mature Cars movie?
I've flown thousands of miles, and I've never been anywhere.
Wow, that's a proper motivation for the old crop duster. But I mean, you could just travel. Is there a cost of living crisis in the Planes universe? Did they pay for petrol? But it's enough for Skipper.
You were built to fight, and look what you did.
Wait, so does that mean there were Nazi planes in the past? Training time! It's all good doing the normal hops over trees and grazing grass, but here's the life bro tip that'll disregard the advantages of a super plane built for racing.
Then look up. See those clouds? The highway in the sky. Tailwinds like nothing you've ever flown.
Okay, I guess I can get behind that then, instead of being the broken record about how aerodynamic it isn't for a crop duster's plane's body to compete successfully in a race. Except...
Oh! He's off the pitch! Go down!
He's a plane, and he's scared of heights. Oh, Jesus Chrysler.
During the attack of Tahunga Harbor, why even the P-38s had trouble at high altitudes.
I'm sorry. Are we directly going there? I know there's already enough commentary about the tiny bird planes in France, or the car Pope confirming that car Jesus was crucified, but the attack on Tehunka Harbor? P-38s? I looked into it. Tehunka isn't real, but P-38s were involved around Pearl Harbor. My god, they're just mentioning it outright at this point. So while you'd imagine Mr. Veteran over here would quickly be about turning back to his shelter, telling Dusty to just quit, turns out they're just gonna do low altitude training instead. First, racing the shadow of another plane and failing immediately.
We can increase power, or we can decrease drag.
Alright, so now they're actively changing somewhat the anatomy of the old crop duster. Okay, this is sounding more plausible. Never considered the spray line thing to be a plane's ghoulies, but apparently they are. Someone write that down. After a mini montage of learning techniques and a few engine operations, we're starting to make some progress.
Altitude for airspeed. Gravity is your ally. The laws of physics govern speed. Use your radial G. Let gravity work for you.
Don't forget to tighten those lamp busters and never bring a cat to a dogfight. And with the end of our montage, we've had a success.
He's ready.
And so, Dusty makes his way over to New York, with only a minor bump along the way.
Get off the runway!
Before, of course, being a fish out of water. Everyone bumping about everywhere.
The fit? Oh yeah, that's easy. Do you want to go down this way toward
It's him. And so, Dusty joins up with all the rest of the planes from around the world.
Look, I don't know how things work in the backwater from which you hail, matey, but this is
It's him. And probably not too far off from his actual opinions of Americans IRL.
And it's because these people are operating at a very, very low level of mental health.
We get a couple more introductions. Here's an obvious romantic interest.
Look at that propeller.
Or maybe other type of interest. Here's Ripslinger from earlier, being about as you'd expect. And then this guy.
You have never heard of the great El Chupacabra?
Known for indoor racing and clearly the only chance Dusty has for a friend.
The scene below me is absolutely electric.
Oof. Look at Blimp Guy over here. Dude's looking more like a Coco Melon character than a Cars character. I mean, I get how it's the same visual engine behind it all, but boy, it does not translate all that well onto a blimp. And so we're at the start of a very long race, about an hour according to the runtime.
Don't let anything distract you.
What is she flapping anatomically? One more plane to add to our collection, Rochelle, the Canadian rally champion. Got all that? British John Cleese, douchey Ripslinger, Ishani from India, Chupacabra, he's hard to miss, and of course Dusty. Let the races begin.
And we are underway!
And as we've well established from Dusty's fear of heights, he's gonna lowball it the whole time. Boy, it sure is boring to watch this race take place in real time, huh? But eventually, Dusty makes it through the icy skies of Iceland, where everyone else has been warming up for a while. There was no serious strategy from Dusty for this whole first 3,000-kilometer leg. This guy just went through all that training, learning all about his G radials, and then just had the gall to fly straight and low all day. I mean, it's hilarious how stupid he is. My vote's on Chupacabra, doofy and actually functional.
Why don't you go plow yourself, El Chutoy?
Maybe a little too functional. This movie is seriously playing both cards right now. All in on the fart jokes for kids, and a little uncomfortably comfortable with the sexual hints for adults. And so, through a radio back home, Dusty is told he needs to fly a little higher to avoid growing ice, and it's all about agility through this next obstacle course.
It's not speed that wins races, it's skill.
Shame you've got your eggs in the basket of Mr. Flying Straight and nothing else, Skipper. And here we are, it's those pylons again. How's Dusty gonna do? I don't know, we barely see him today. It's all about John Cleese.
Mayday! Mayday!
And just like that, the old British bulldog is dead. Except, remember that part at the very end of Cars 1 where Lightning finally has a revelation and chooses to come last so that he can save another member of the race? Well, apparently Dusty has already seen this film, as he does exactly that. When no one else came by Cleese's side as he plummeted blind, Dusty swoops down to follow and guide him forwards to a safe landing.
Bulldog, apply your left aileron!
Slide roll right! Good!
And it all works. You know, funnily enough, the point of Planes was to try to avoid just doing another Cars. Kinda tough considering this didn't need to be a racing movie. It could have been something else Planes related, you know? Apparently there was even conscious efforts that when ideas were pitched that were a little too close to the sun, they were rejected. But racing still got in there, and so did the final story beat. Interesting.
Thanks for your help, matey. Oh, I couldn't have done it without you.
Did the writers at Disney Toon Studio think British spoke like pirates? We don't really say matey, but Bulldog does all the time. Cleese really didn't have the heart to tell them we mostly just say mate.
Where I come from, if you see someone falling from the sky...
Yes, but this is a competition.
When does that ever happen in your stinky crop field? You just accidentally had a lie-in one morning and you look out your window to just see... So now it's a night over in Germany, where petrol is alcohol, and there's this hybrid character suddenly.
My name is Franz, and I am a huge fan.
In the air, I am in charge.
Imagine if this movie's actually about the toxicity of racing and how it's slowly distorting Dusty away from who he truly is. First they tinker with his engine, then they command him to heights he cannot comfortably stomach, and now they're just neutering him. What a message that would be.
So, what do you think?
And it's done. So just like that, Dusty is now steamrolling the competition. They really don't lean on it much somehow. It's a bunch of pretty quick cutaways as the guy edges his way ahead of each of the back-end planes, minus the ones that are randomly exploding in the sky. And with Dusty rising through the ranks to 8th place, he's getting all the media attention now.
So how can a crop duster outfly you?
Wait, what?
There he is! Dusty! After all, Dusty is a proper underdog story going on now. And Ripslinger, of course, isn't happy that he's getting all the attention. Our antagonist is rising up. Oh, also with Skipper hearing of Dusty's success, only now is he motivated to actually support the guy in person. Not entirely sure why he didn't feel like coming at any sooner point, but whatever. But the old vet just isn't able to do it. Genuinely kind of tragic, shot down in the moonlight with just a sad note on the end that...
It's probably not a good night for flying, anyway.
And so it's the next day and another leg for Dusty.
What if a guy wanted to fly through the mountains instead of over them?
Bad idea.
Are you kidding me? Does Dusty want to die? He seems to be making every choice that'll guarantee that spreading his guts across some mountainside is his final moment. Every night this guy must dream for the cold embrace of death. He's told not to, just to fly higher. That old argument again. I mean, it's a pretty simple premise, and they're just repeating themselves every leg break at this point. It's just more of the same. Speaking of, El Chupacabra is continuing to hit on the Canadian plane that is clearly not interested.
Any space, huh?
You can only pretend for so long.
Yeesh. This is all your fault. But now there's an opportunity for the planes to actually do some talking. We have Ishani coming up to Dusty.
I wanted to compliment you on your success, Dusty.
Why does she talk like that? Why does this make me feel uncomfortable? And then they go on a date. Is this really the best idea in the middle of a race? I mean, I know it's break time, but surely this is at risk of doing some damage from more overworking. I doubt people go off on jogs in between marathons, do they? But it's romance time, and an excuse to see the Taj Mahal. Also, you can't seriously be telling me that these two are aerodynamically equal. Look at their two designs. And also, they're dirtying the waters again with strange Cars universe logic as they swoop through a swarm of seagulls that are all literally planes. But the actual planes aren't birds, right? But tractors are animals because... But anyway, the true purpose of this date comes out.
You like to fly low, don't you? Railroad tracks through a valley in the mountains, so you can still fly low.
Thanks, Ishani.
So what do you think Death Wish Dusty is gonna do over the Himalayas? Follow the advice of everyone around him, or confirmation bias into his own incredibly reckless and illogical ways? And then pretty much immediately we come to a hurdle, a tunnel, to which Dusty instantly pulls up, freaks out, and quits. It's all a very quick turnaround on this story beat that really feels like it's cutting corners, but it's character development time. I thought that'd be the time where Dusty breaks his fear, but instead, it's recklessly driving into the train tunnel. Actually pretty decent for a set piece to play with, until you know what to expect appears at the other end. He died. Rest in peace to that poor train that was caught as collateral damage. Of course, in this comatose reality of whatever's going on in Dusty's brain, he reaches his destination and long before anyone else has even arrived.
No one else is here yet. You're in first place.
Dusty is on the up and up. But of course, now he needs to confront Ishani over what was clearly a trap.
You set me up.
Look, I didn't ever want to hurt you.
Why?
She's in cahoots with Ripslinger.
You could have got me killed out there today.
I really thought that you'd just turn around.
And that's all we get to learn. Turns out the back propeller is a Ripslinger exclusive, and we move on from there. Dusty now becoming an icon for the working class as all eyes are on him, and his friends will be joining him in Mexico. And then there's Chupacabra, still pining over this same poor lady, serenading in the most idiotic of ways.
No, 1,000 no's.
Until, for some whatever reason, Dusty is on his side and wants to assist, and so he sets up a different serenade that's still the same song, but slower this time. You can't make this up.
I'm just in love, my cheek, I'd sing next to you.
I prefer this version. Let's forget the whole mini musical and 180 the Canadian plane actually does in this movie.
What happened to you?
That song. It flipped the switch.
Come here.
Because this always makes me feel uncomfortable. And we're off! It's all ocean from here, and with Ripslinger being our clear antagonist, we have his little minions coming in clutch for him with...
My antenna!
An actual assassination attempt.
Oh no!
Okay, well that's more like your own fault there, Dusty. And so clearly, with no clear path assistance and a probable death, it's fair to say this race is lost. Dusty goes so far off course, he's intercepted by the US Navy, and after briefly being threatened, he's set to land on the USS Fleisenhauer. Only to discover that Skipper lied about his past missions as one of the wrenches in all of his war stories. How fitting that Dusty ended up in the exact place where he'd find a wrench's wall of fame, huh?
You gotta get out of there. You're gonna have to fly high.
Is it true?
It's true!
Oh, so I guess that's that then.
I only flew one mission.
Dusty's entire reality seems to be breaking around him from when he started. His mentor is a fraud, he's lost his sprayer, his insides are all swished about, and a love interest is somewhat evil. Oof. Should have stayed back with the fertilizer.
Just like Mama used to spray.
Now he's got a steamroll out of there, with the added boost from the aircraft carrier system. Huh, nice. Dusty now has to fly high if he wants to survive the storm at all.
Headwind's good. Pressure's good.
Thanks, Sonic! Oh, wait, what? I meant it just because this guy's a sound-alike, but actually, Roger Craig Smith is cast in this movie. He's Ripslinger, so this probably is Sonic filling in a smaller role, too. Huh.
Dusty was a nice guy.
We're all gonna miss him.
Oh yeah, I can hear it. And as El Chupacabra and Ishani shame Ripslinger's personality, Dusty fights the storm.
Mayday, mayday, mayday!
So like, he's dead, right? There are several segments of him fully submerged underwater. Even if he's pulled out, isn't he just gonna be a spluttering mess after this? Oh, here he is being pulled out. That's a cool shot for it. And his body is wrecked.
Broken wing ribs, twisted gear, bent prop. It's over.
Hold on, did she say wing ribs? Oh, okay, that's a real thing. I seriously thought they were just about to start inventing body parts to keep up with the anatomy thing. But yes, while the race is seemingly doomed for Dusty, and he'll have to live with several bodily injuries, surprising no one, he doesn't care, just because he was lied to.
One mission. So much for Volo Pro Veritas.
And why would Skipper lie about such a thing? It's time for a good old-fashioned flashback.
Get out of there,
my god! Bloody hell! Holy shit!
Keep your distance.
They're showing it! They're actually showing brutal Air Force fiery death! Yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense for why Skipper didn't do any more missions anymore. His whole squadron of rookies were killed under him, and he's too traumatized to fly. Dusty is his first successful rookie, if you can call this a success. And so the very next day, while Dusty mopes in despair, El Chupacabra shows up with his own gift of wings, which would kind of be a nice wholesome friendship moment if his entire reasoning isn't because Dusty helped him get laid with a plane that typically wasn't interested.
You helped me with my pursuits of the heart. Now we are here to help you.
You know, it sure is easy for a plane if every limb you break could just be a replacement away from full functionality again, you know? The Canadian offers some pipes. John Cleese appears with a sat-nav. Can we have something for the limp, please? Oh, and even a bunch of unnamed racer planes contribute. Was not expecting that. Hopefully one of these is a bit more practical. And by the end, Dusty has become an entirely new plane. This single goal of his really stripping him of his entire existence. What would happen if you put all of his old parts together? Has the Cars universe ever touched on the ship of Theseus? And to finish it off, Ishani reappears to give out her super slicer back propeller as well.
This one didn't really suit me, but I think you will have a lot better luck with it.
Yeah, you're a sellout, aren't you, Dusty?
And now, here we are on the final day. Ripslinger never comments on his propeller being used. Instead, we just get...
You're afraid of getting beat by a crop duster.
Wow, you really showed him, Dusty. And we're off for the final time, Mexico to New York. And though Dusty's got whole new parts to bolster his speed, he's also still not doing anything tactical to gain any speed. It's still mostly in one direction, no G-radials or anything. But he's making his way up the list now, because reasons? If it's because he's upgraded now, then how come he was able to overcome them before? That was hypocritical. Plus, they expressly mentioned that air is thinner up top, so you move faster. So this is still just so illogical and against the laws of physics, everything Dusty is doing. He really must be dead from that train crash earlier.
Okay, we're out of camera range. You know what to do.
So the trio at the top go for another assassination attempt, only for one more surprise ex machina.
Skipper! Dusty, pull up! Whoa!
Skipper's in the air and in the murdering mood again. So at this point, the idea of being just a race just goes out of the window as the four play cat and mouse against this arena for a little while. Not entirely sure what the plan is since they're only really chasing the guy at this point. They don't have guns. But after some back and forth, we finally have Dusty shaking the minion twins, Ned and Zed, off with... Yeah! I guess if your enemy is breaking rules to assassinate you, it's all free game for a third party to attempt to intervene. But you'd think there'd be more precautions for this kind of thing in a global event like this, no? Anyway, it's Skipper versus Ripslinger.
Say hello to the Warsaw Windmill. Look, you're crazy!
Oh, never mind. He lived to scuff Skipper in the tail. And Dusty heads off for the final leg. With Dusty trailing behind and struggling to keep up, he remembers the original advice.
Tailwinds like nothing you've ever flown.
Who'd have thought the piece of advice Dusty kept ignoring, fly higher, was the answer? Though at the same time, how does the 3 times world champion of this race not know this to do it himself?
Don't look down, don't look down, don't look down. Ugh.
Either way, he does it. And it's so fun, he has time to play around in it, apparently. And so, with that final revelation, it's time to finish up this race in New York again. Ripslinger now in the role of low to the ground, and Dusty...
Time to eat my dust!
What, do you think something would happen here? I'd never be so crude. Although the towers are missing in this movie. I don't even want to comprehend all the ramifications that could mean. And as Ripslinger prepares his final pose, finally, Dusty uses his G-radial and wins the race, of course.
He's done it! He's done it!
And everyone cheers. So there isn't a point system? It's just who can race that last bit? Mexico to New York, the fastest who wins? It seems like the rest of this race is a waste of time, considering you get ample breaks in between. Anyway, everyone gives out their 2 cents, even the old hybrid fan.
All of us who want to do more than just what we were built for.
Ah, what a nice message. None of them will be able to fly, though. The crop duster is still a plane, after all. And as Ripslinger is sent away in sewage, it's a thing that happened, Dusty catches one last glimpse of... You know, this movie has that same strange split. It's clear the actors they cast are pretty good. I mean, it is Sonic and John Cleese, and the animation's pretty nice. Made on a $50 million budget, but the writing really lets this movie down. It clearly feels like a direct-to-video movie, because it was. And they decided to release it theatrically last minute. I can see this as just a burner piece of entertainment you watch on a small TV at home, you know? Because as much as it was trying not to be Cars, it sure is just another racing movie with many of the same tropes, and a few less graceful ones added on top. The humor as well was not good. I don't remember liking any of it apart from the stairs. And that's a plus for the animators anyway. But nevertheless, this spin-off turned $50 million into $239 million overnight. Wow. And it turns out they made a sequel 1 year later, so I guess our ride's not done here yet. And there was a third one set to be in space? I gotta look into this some more. There's a running theme with Pixar sequels that are all about the secondary character. And it's the same here. Everyone's favorite idiot Mater. But we don't actually start that way. Instead, we get this guy, Finn McMissile, on a boat? And there's a warship boat with a gun? This really isn't a racing movie anymore. So Finn sneaks onto this oil rig in the middle of the night and has magnet tires now, so we can just ignore gravity apparently, and a tightrope that somehow can be balanced on perfectly. Actually, it's an incredibly creative way to expand the car's universe, but it also kind of takes something away from the idea, you know? So anyway, this is your standard spy movie opening. Bad guys are doing something suspicious.
Agent Leland Turbo.
What is it with Pixar showing mutilated cubic corpses? That is dark. But the reveal of Finn's shadow is actually something I really, really like. And so Finn dashes out of there, murdering as he goes. That's more body parts in this world. But the cinematography's good in places. And then he becomes a boat himself. So why did he need the other guy before? One less impactful version of that dash scene later and the prologue is done.
Who can stop us now?
Mater, tow Mater, that's who.
That's really forced. So Mater's towing this guy when he spots McQueen's back. This goes on for a while.
McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen's...
And so the two hang out for the day, all with clips I've somehow seen before through osmosis, I guess. Until McQueen says he wants to spend a quiet dinner with Sally in the evening, and that makes Mater sad. Is this really a plot point? Dude can't stomach McQueen spending time with literally anyone else, so he doesn't. We've seen this cliche before.
I'll have my usual.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have that too.
But hey, I like that joke. So then as these cars drink some alcohol, we learn of billionaire Axelrod, who's pushing for new renewable energy.
Nobody will ever go back to gasoline again.
This film's not gonna age well, is it? And then there's Francesco Bernoulli, egging on how McQueen would lose to him in a race.
Let's go to the phones. Baltimore, Maryland, you're on the air.
Have you ever had a dream that you could want them to do you so much you could do anything? And of course Mater then goes running his mouth down the phone too, and then McQueen just abandons his date plans to see the ruckus.
What? He's nice to look at, you know, open-wheeled and all.
This is gonna be her whole character arc, just thirsting for someone else. All that foundation from the first film, poof. Anyway, McQueen hops in and joins the tournament and has to bring Mater along as well. Time for a montage. And some visuals that don't make sense. Planes with empty innards for the cars to peruse around in. But hey, the lighting's nice.
Hey, Lightning, can you believe this party?
And this is actually a really cool sequence of real drivers, and it changes with every region. I'm really out of the loop on IRL car stuff, but this seems really cool. Mater then goes on to make a fool out of himself at every turn, not understanding another country's culture, as well as putting himself right in front of everybody. This is gonna get annoying. Meanwhile, there's the spy plotline. Finn McMissile meets with Holly Shiftwell and learns of an American spy who is here to share information. You know where this is going.
This trip's been amazing.
Ah, he's a little excited, isn't he?
This is so classy. And so everything culminates in the bathroom. Why are there normal sinks when everybody's designed like a car? Anyway, this is our American spy, and he's dead. Dropping the info onto Mater as he eventually drives away. Mater's now accidentally plucked as the spy.
Look out, ladies. Mater's fitting to get funky.
Is this sentence implying what I think it does? Was he literally just swinging around his dick? Anyway, of course he passes the spy code word because the interaction is a real fact, rather than nonsense from both parties like it usually would be, and away we go. Holly plans a rendezvous point, and Mater thinks it's a date. As for the real spy plotline, our American spy is captured, and we're told that the clean energy is actually dangerous with an electromagnetic yada yada. The baddies work out they actually want Mater, and as for the spy... This is so dark! And then, 30 minutes into the movie, we're finally at the races part of this racing franchise. Gotta love there's a car there called Daryl, and it's an adaptation. There's dozens of us. And there's like a brief moment of Francesco interrupting McQueen's iconic monologue.
I am Speed.
Really? You're Speed?
But then it just goes to normal cinematography again. Where's the flair? Where are those iconic moments from the original Cars? Like, even the opening of this movie is just kind of flat in comparison, you know? Like the director just phoned it in for the sequel. So as the race goes on and Francesco regains their lead after bad times in the dirt, the electromagnetic pulse camera comes into play, targeting races and sabotaging the match until they spot Mater and all pile in on him. So what comes next is Holly starts to communicate with Mater to warn him, right? In response, he just full-on continues to ramble down the line to McQueen and her, already grossly unprofessional, but then, as a friend, just goes on to leave McQueen during his big race for what he believes is a simple date. For someone prowling around with the best friend label, this comes off as not just dumb and annoying, but incredibly selfish too. How do we not talk about this? The other spies perfectly protect Mater in the back alleys, and McQueen apparently will accept any orders from Mater despite probably knowing better and losing the race because of it. Ending in the most ridiculous presentations of realism. And also, Finn could hop onto walls, apparently. McQueen is understandably livid and banishes Mater away. Are we seriously supposed to feel bad for the character who we cringe at for making all the wrong moves? Either way, he's the protagonist for the next hour, so get used to it. Finn McMissile detours him away, and after a pretty basic chase sequence through the airport, Mater is taken away on a spy jet plane. They witness the insider information of the big baddie, and Mater makes a contribution.
Well done, Mater. I would never have seen that.
You never would have thought to look in the corner? Anyway, we come to France, where there's tiny planes replacing birds? What? And hey, Ratatouille, huh? All of this for a scene with an informant to tell us the baddies are all poor quality cars and have a meeting soon. And this scene isn't even interesting. It's just your exposition spy drama. A lot of dialogue and little interesting direction. Cameras slowly moving for no reason, no cars moving around, it's just, But at least there's buttons for tires to maneuver holograms, and what a coincidence, the meeting ground is in Italy, at the next race. And speaking of threading things back to McQueen, he is sad about the Mater thing.
He's my best friend.
Then why would you ask him to be someone else?
Because he was being inappropriate and ignorant, and at the very least needs to be taught some things, or given assistance if it's a bit more complex than that, you know? Anyway, that's McQueen's bit done. There's essentially no arc with him here, so back to Mater. Yay. Now being given a disguise, where he proclaims he likes to keep every single dent as a memory of his friendship when he got them. This scene ain't so bad. Heartwarming in message, and there are plenty of visuals to see for what is another exposition dump. The Pope is a car. There's canonical Catholicism in this car cacophony culture. And assassination attempts must be canon too in its history. It's time for our second race. Francesco almost does a new twist, no longer throwing insults and talking about homesickness, only to turn it into an insult, a more emotional one, I guess. Also, his mama has hair, as is a reference to the car model they're based on. I'm sure there's way more car trivia sprinkled into this film, but this is all I know. That's some smart adapting there. And they're off. But first, we got the Mater stuff again. Finally, as he's about to take on his disguise, Mater learns about how much of an idiot he is and how much everyone's been laughing at him as the fool, all explained by Finn thinking it's a bit. And then he's pushed in.
But I guess that makes sense, seeing how you's wanted in France and Germany and Czech.
He's so good.
I'm a little ashamed that I actually kind of laughed at that line execution. Maybe that's what this film needs, bumping up the humor of it all. Make Finn seem dumb in how he doesn't recognize it, because every other attempt is just not fun to watch. All of these jokes are really flat. So, Big Boss video calls into the meeting.
Descramble that voice.
I'm trying. Oh, it's too sophisticated.
That'd make the plot go by too fast, wouldn't it? Same as if the real American spy showed up. Expositioning the plan, they're sabotaging clean energy in order to bring everyone back to gasoline, which they can now dominate with their newly found untapped oil reserve, the largest in the world. And finally, the spies actually notice the electromagnetic camera ploy, because they could just recognize electromagnetic pulses now, but not last time. But they're caught, and a mild pile-up takes place. Seriously, we've got mutilated corpses and detached body parts, but a large-scale crash looks like this? Bumper cars? Come on. McQueen wins the race, that's probably pretty crushing on home turf, and they only now realize the pile-up. Is this a moment of solitude for the two of them as they see the bigger picture? No. But we're not there yet. McQueen still decides to stick with All in All despite the politics as he wants to trust his friend who says it's safe, so the baddies now plan to kill McQueen outright. The last All in All supporter.
Dadgum.
Gatling gun. Request acknowledged.
Shoot, I didn't mean.
Request acknowledged.
I kinda like this. But now Mater has all sorts of over-the-top mobility options with his hook and his other type of shoot. Not that it gets him very far. Time for Mater in the Void. Finally seeing his memories is embarrassing. There's not really a reaction here, just kinda another angle. It's almost like a behind the scenes of an animation. And then we wake up inside of London.
Inside Big Bentley.
Where's the Bentley bit? It's time for the final race. Gotta love that London has just grey weather everywhere. We're not in Porta Corsa anymore. And so, with front row seats, Mater's there to see as McQueen is targeted and nothing happens. The plot demands it. But there's a baddie backup plan, a bomb in the pits. Not sure how it would sell the all-in-all narrative, but sure. Only now does Mater realize he can release himself, and off he runs to save the day as a lowly tow truck.
Being killed by a clock gives a whole new meaning to your time has come.
Are these meant to be ha-ha hee-hee jokes? Like, actually out loud? Anyway, the two escape themselves and spot a Mater piece on the floor, just left there. The writers really are just phoning it in, aren't they? Oh, and also...
Done.
Oh, Miss Schiffwell.
The standard issue now.
Then why didn't you do it before? Mater tries to vacate the pits only to hear that he has the bomb, and McQueen's just spotted him, leading to this stupid sequence. Mater is reversing onto the track and McQueen is chasing after him, and still far behind, despite literally being the fastest car.
I'm the bomb!
Yes, Mater, you are the bomb. That's what I'm trying to say here.
And then Mater activates his rocket boosters, and this plot has really just crashed and burned at this point, hasn't it? And Cars 2.
Just blasted away.
The bomb is now out of range. Time for the spies to hit up all the loose ends, I guess. Again, I found one joke I like out of 20. It's this line delivery from Francesco.
What is happening? This is a bad dream. What is happening?
I need more freak out or something. I don't know, funny stuff from the not comic relief character. That's not just, why are you so dumb? So anyway, wrapping up, Finn grabs onto the professor last minute, coming to this confrontation that's actually quite good. The warship guy is here, magnetizing the professor, disarming Finn, and he's got his weapon aimed on him. That's a great counter movement to have to work against. The answer's pretty basic though. Finn has supercard jumping powers, as we've seen before, bombs that we don't even see the result of. Great. Meanwhile, after finally stopping, Mater's bomb starts actually ticking, and they get surrounded. But now, suddenly everyone and their mother is a great fighter. Even Mater himself can just randomly karate himself out of a dilemma. Dude punched his tow truck clone into oblivion. Where did he go? But that's the goon sorted.
I know what needs to be done. Then do it. I can't do it. Look, nobody takes me seriously.
What? At every moment up to this point, you've not lingered on this thought to stop an idea, but now you do? This plot is so ham-fisted, man. All to lead McQueen into his counter-monologue.
Look, you're yourself in Radiator Springs. They need to change, not you.
Again, this is nice, but also kind of toxic in a way. It's good to take note of your surroundings. Don't be ignorant and oblivious if you can help it. And then they do the you're the bomb joke again. Invigorated with motivation and a new banjo rendition of the same spy motif we've been hearing practically on loop this entire movie, Mater now bursts into action with all of his gadgets up and over to the Queen?
Bomb! It's a bomb! It's a freak! Everybody down!
Yeah, why are you telling her? Anyway, this all comes to a head as apparently Mater has finally clicked on who the big bad guy is.
It's him.
Oh, already? Have you not heard of suspense? Wouldn't that make this reveal way more interesting? Yep, time for the explanation after. No real climax to this story at all, just more exposition. Axelrod didn't switch to clean, they're faking it, purposely shooting down their own brand for their bigger investment. And what's the big finale sequence I said Pixar movies always seem to perfect first and work their way backwards from?
Someone do something! Deactivate!
Bomb deactivated.
And that's it. No emotional swing, no real daring stakes. You know where it's going, and you've seen it before. Everyone's happy, Mater is officially knighted, we learn McQueen was given organic hippie fuel rather than all-in-all, kinda just jammed that in there, didn't they? And the final race happens in Radiator Springs, of course it does.
So he's not so good looking. I'm serious.
That's why I love you, Sally.
For lying? Huh? And it all ends with Mater keeping those jets, destroying the beginning guy's undercarriage and just destroying the sanctity of this whole racing element. And that was Cars 2. It's just meh everywhere. From the visuals when we've not got rain to the direction, the dialogue and the plot line, the jokes. It's cliched, it's not iconic at all, and just kinda phoning it in. Not to mention, it just expands the Cars universe in a weird way. Why is it Radiator Springs has car-themed houses and land built like it's a society of cars, but everywhere else is so glaringly human? Do cars seriously live in these kind of French apartments? No! The film's not thought out like that, and the only impressive part is the faithfulness to real-life car stuff and references to them. But this would only be the start of Pixar's misfirings and the first step into their phase of sequels. Thankfully, they seem to have stepped back on the Cars front, making Cars 3 another personal story, or so I hear. After a decent hiatus, I'm bringing it back. At least one more time. As more recently, more production news has popped up, of course. Well, I say recently, news of this movie were leaked by a 4chan user back in November of 2022, and somewhere along the line it was recommended to me via my Discord server. So thanks to Futaba Forever, Anzio Hall, and Sweaty Yeti for getting this attention to me. We got a nice chunk of details to go through. But first, a mystery. When was this movie set to be released? When was it under production? We don't actually know. Details of the dates around this production are positively blurred, which is fascinating, right? There are some details, vague ones really. We'll get there in a mo. First, what even is this project? This is the cancelled Metro, created by Disney Toon Studios. This was set to be a Trains spin-off in the Cars universe. We got planes, so why not trains as well? Really gunning for that Thomas the Tank Engine and Tugs vibe. Now, we don't really have news over when this production officially started, as it was off the books. No public announcement of this movie was ever made, but we do know the history of Disney Toon Studios. They have popped up a handful of times in past cancelled episodes, but it's understandable if you've forgotten over the months. These guys are known for their direct-to-DVD sequels. Think, well, every 2 and 3 at the end of a Disney classic. Though that doesn't necessarily paint the full picture, as they are not at all bad. Sometimes they made equally investing sequel movies like Lilo and Stitch, Stitch Has a Glitch, Lion King 1.5, and an extremely Goofy movie, which they got to make because they are the guys behind a Goofy movie. This secondary Disney production team are also the people who made Planes 1 and 2. Suddenly Trains makes a lot more sense for them. They're not directly Pixar, but they are given the IPs to play around with some spin-off ideas on the side. So this didn't exactly come from nowhere. That being said, the studio also has a lot of cancelled productions under their belt as well. There was a point in 2007 when, during an executive reshuffle, John Lasseter was put in the position to destroy all projects currently being made, which wiped out sequels to Pinocchio, Dumbo, The Aristocats, Chicken Little, and Meet the Robinsons, all at once. And also, even their Planes franchise got its 3rd movie cancelled, Protect and Serve. Add that onto the one Cars 2 Tales from Radiator Springs episode, and that gives us 3 cancelled projects all tied to the Cars universe alone. They really want this thing to expand. Or don't. Anyway, while it's unsure exactly when this project started, we do have details about some of the people attached to create it. Most notably are the directors, Steve Loter and Sunil Hull. Now, if you don't recognize these names and faces, don't worry, I'm also pretty bad keeping with names despite doing so many of these. But you do know their work. Steve Loter, for a start, is a major director for all sorts of iconic nostalgic TV. He was the director for all of Kim Possible, as well as Buzz Lightyear of Star Command and American Dragon, all kind of the underrated cartoons of that era, adored by those that saw it, but not seen by everybody, you know? And next to him at the table, you have Sunil Hall as co-director and head of story. Now this guy is the creator behind The Mighty Ones recently, as well as directing the Monsters vs. Aliens TV series, being the storyboard artist to Gravity Falls, and having the both of them work on The Penguins of Madagascar, Snort About Mort. I clearly do not know the full scope of the Madagascar franchise. Still, these are the two at the top of this production, and both of them had some words to say about the project after being poked about it a little on Twitter and other sources. With Steve Loter describing the story as a cross between a specific Walter Hill film from the 70s and a specific Scorsese film from the 80s. That is a weird prompt, but it tells us a heck of a lot of the format for this movie. See, the Walter Hill movie in question is The Warriors, and the Martin Scorsese film is After Hours. Here are their details to get a better understanding of how this Trains movie may have rolled out. The Warriors is a 1979 action thriller about gang members in New York City. Essentially, our protagonist gang squad, the Warriors, are framed for the murder of the most powerful gang leader and are on the run all the way back to their home territory on Coney Island as other gangs try to take them down mid-transit. They're run down by a modified school bus, they board an elevated train, there's a building fire on the tracks, they meet low hierarchical gangs while on foot, chased by police, board a subway car, brawl other gangs, there's an undercover cop at one point, they're lured in by a group and ambushed, reach their destination, fight the real murderer and win despite them bringing a gun. Their name is cleared and they end with In the City by Joe Walsh being played over the credits. Essentially, it's a chaotic, on the run through New York type story. After Hours, meanwhile, this one's a wild ride. It's all about one guy, Paul, who just finished after a boring day at work. He then goes on to meet someone called Marcy at a cafe, follow up their advice and goes to buy a paperweight at an apartment, taking a cab but losing their dollar bills to the wind. At the apartment is sculpture work, like one shape reminiscent to The Scream. They scarper out and attempt the subway home but can't afford it because the fares just went up at midnight. They go to a bar and learn that there are burglaries about. The bartender offers money for the subway but can't open the cash register, so gives Paul the key to go to their apartment to grab the keys to the cash register. Paul does so and witnesses a burglary, saving the sculpture he saw before, and then returns to the very first apartment. Then they see that Marcy has died and reports the death, then goes back to the bar, but it is locked and Paul has to wait another 30 minutes, where he goes to another girl's apartment and rejects her advances, goes back to the pub and a group of punks attempt to shave him a mohawk. Then there's an ice cream truck driver who mistakes him for the burglar because that girl from before that he rejected sketched a fake wanted poster framing him. He goes back to the club and asks a new girl to dance and for advice. She molds him into a papier-mâché sculpture in order to hide from the mob. The mob appears and then leaves because they don't spot him, and she then refuses to let him out, so he hardens into the sculpture looking like The Scream. Then the burglars come back, they steal him thinking that they're stealing the same sculpture from before, they drop him out of the back of their van in one sharp turn and Paul crashes out directly outside of the front gate of his office building at sunrise. Good morning, his computer screen says, we've come full circle. So like, just imagine all that, but with a train, and you're basically there. What a dark comedy. It sounds like some sort of Kafka production. From these two movies, you can very much sketch in a picture of the vibes. It's a chaotic New York, with our protagonist steaming from place to place, all across one eventful night. Sounds like a fun prompt. And what's more, there's a cheeky little creative choice that I think could have really elevated this movie. As quoted by Steve Loter, I can't talk too much about it, but I can tell you some fun facts. Most of the film would have been real time with no time jumps. We had full access working with the MTA, that's the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, they're responsible for the real public transport of New York City. It would have been great, he says. Yes, this whole 2-hour movie would have been across a direct 2 hours of story. That's a pretty intriguing idea, huh? As well as a cover of Stevie Wonder's Living in the City as the end credits song. I'd suggest listening to Living in the City for yourself, since I clearly can't play it here for copyright reasons, but I do have Living in the City from Sonic R, so that'll have to suffice. So with the foundation built about as best as it can be, let's do a direct dissection of the concept art, shall we? This was leaked anonymously in November of 2022 and subsequently deleted as a thread, but now it's archived on Lost Media Wikis. So let's consume. Starting off pretty simple, we have From the World Below Cars, Disney Metro. This is one of a few commercial images we have of the project, and it's pretty simplistic. No protagonist, no specifics, it's a teaser image, presumably telling us it's more so about the subway element than the overground, though I imagine we'll be getting a healthy dosage of both. Ironically, with nary a train in sight. Perhaps it's a link more to Cars, or because Cars can be involved too if everyone goes underground anyway. Car parks and actually using the subway and all that. Is it like a steam line of Max? Cars within cars, but trains? I guess we'll see if the artwork will answer all of that. Next up, a pretty smug-looking chap. Yes, he is our protagonist, enjoying the life down under. It may be a little grimier with some graffiti as a defining trait, but but it's beyond the cars. And an M on his forehead likely connects to both Metro and his actual name. I'll call him Mapool. Moving on to an action shot, it's an event of the film, pushed forwards by a bigger train, and judging by that face, it's not an accident. Mapool is under attack. Oh, this is serious After Hours vibes. I thought this was like training at first, but no, this is a bar. Chief over here with another M on his head is serving drinks, while Mapool is surrounded by much bigger machines of all sorts of personalities. Look, that's Thomas's distant cousin back there. Where is his face? And look, their drinks are on little handcars. And next shot gives us practically a town for trains, with a pawn shop, check cashing, and a place called Bent Rail. Though there are cars here too, I think that guy is an arm barrier. He seems to enjoy his job. And here it is in color. Same barrier again, and same face too, though maybe more malicious this time than before. Maybe they're a pest, always trying to pick on Mapool instead. He's not too happy as he returns to the Bent Rail anyway, and even big guys look a little judgingly. But this place is the bar, I imagine. See, they have oil on tap. More! We got boilerplates, signal, lager, I think the bartender greeting Mapool at the door, and a drunk carriage leaning up against an old schooler that legit just doesn't have a face. I thought maybe last time it was because they were at the back of the artwork, but no. There might just be trains with no faces in the Cars universe. Every installment breeds so many more questions. Haven't done this in a hot minute, but you're halfway through the video, so come subscribe if you haven't already. Or better still, give us suggestions if you know any other cancelled projects with substantial assets to dissect. Or check out the old playlist, there's a bunch. Here's my most recent ratio of unsub viewers, so I'm calling out to you. Oh wow, and now we're in the thick of it. I imagine this is several beats blended into one shot, passing by a train station, aiming for Canal Street with a specific time code to the real-time element. Gang members, down at the bottom, coming out of the world of Mad Max and bringing a clown along with them. Is it a clown gang and a punk gang? Or am I just reading a Twisted Metal reference out of this? You've also got the police getting involved alongside too many tires, car hairstyles, a truck of some product, and a giant van down here scraping up the lighting. And on the other side, it's paparazzi witnessing an assault. It's an ice cream truck, set alight and flying out the window. That's no coincidence. But do you think that's a future rival attacking Mapool, or the crime scene that pins Mapool in the first place? Fascinating all around, this piece of artwork. Here's an artsy shot of New York, bustling, yellow cabs, high rise, and down to some peace again. This shot feels a little more investigative, with Mapool and this cleaner cart checking out whatever's later down the tunnel. Ominous and grimy, and probably the calm before the storm. Mapool looks way too relaxed at the moment. Here's M80, the cause for some of the graffiti work, and Mapool shadowed on the wall. Huh, nice. Everyone in this stopping point has numbers for foreheads. Mapool really has main character design syndrome, huh? And is that V symbol a corporation? Like the front of a car, maybe? Here's a display of Cars New York. The city designs from this franchise can be quite enthralling, and it's no different here. With axles, a giant headlight window, giant X, and Del & Co. Some smiley relevant dude. And whatever this is supposed to present. Ooh, a tower made of tires? Cool. Engine building topper and some access for trains way down there. Okay, this is a weird one. This is a sentient diner. Not because buildings are alive now in this universe, but because some diners are literally repurposed train carriages. What? I've been to comedy venues built out of scrap metal rooms like this. Does that mean that they are sentient in the Cars world? Still, we're now out somewhere rural. The tale takes us much further than just Coney Island. Though, isn't it kind of horrifying to have train tracks that lead straight to your face? I feel like I would live in constant anxiety that someone turns wrong. Regardless, they serve pie. Genuine ally or a seductive betrayal? Those edgier movies are our inspiration after all. Then again, here's Mapool. Fittingly small and awfully jitty. Metro Ruffs. Is his name just literally Metro? I'm sticking with Mapool, thanks. Here's some more. Jump scares literally hop him off of the tracks. That's a safety hazard. And some more. What a big mouth he can have. Also, he literally has the MTA logo on his side, keeping things official and tied to the real world. Nice. Ooh, I love this. It's another commercial poster idea. Really sweet. I guess sticking on the theme of movie names just being the name of their protagonists. I guess that's exactly what this is. Very cool, very nice. Give me a London Underground poster and it's a 10 out of 10. Huh, I guess at some point this project was real close to a public announcement. They have some serious thought put into them. And the logo design for Metro is pretty in place. Don't spread, no karate, don't be long, we discriminate against limos here. No unloading, don't smog, and don't pee. Alright then. Love the face of the guy being chopped. More Mapool out in the calm day air. I think it's kind of clear that everything goes to hell overnight, so daytime is looking pretty chilled comparatively. Yeah, there's a kind of hellscape underbelly to New York when the sun goes down. This image featuring a monster truck-like beast, also with the Metro M, devil cars, which I think we see in Cars on the Road, and a symbolic furnace to be fearful of. Very cool. Or is it meant to literally be a sentient factory? That'd be freaky. Meanwhile, here's Mapool under scrutiny from a collective of peering trains. Not quite running away from them, but they're clearly looking down on him as he traverses the graffitified underpass with fire art and F-box? Ooh, and this is Grand Central Terminal. I only recognize it because of Madagascar. What a nice reimagining, and clearly a point of interest. M80, doing no good, and being called out for it. The cheeky little guy is on the run from the police, same one as earlier I think, in front of loaders. That Mapool symbolically will get involved in at this story beat. Happening during sunset, so this could easily be early days in the plot before everything goes badly for Mapool. That's not Mapool, but it is a classic New York subway train, and an axle trucker, world building. Just a great piece of grimy art. And some more with our subway train having an R on his head, which stands for Ray, short for rail. Still, more axle, proper point of interest that, Wigwag and Signal Hotel. It's like, but they already have Signal Lager, don't they? It's cruising above the clutter of those peasant cars down there, followed by BAM! Another poster concept. They really had the imagery for this movie down in their heads. It's Mapool, parading through New York chased by cars, trains, and the void. Ray is also there and pretty peeved. There's a bin crane, the police cop, all blindingly bright against the billboards of commerce. Road Warrior and derails. It's a chase movie through and through. Ooh, and here's one spoiler. Someone's gonna bomb the tracks Mapool is on, and he's gonna have to literally jump like a roller coaster to get across. Horrifying, but judging by the height alone in this concept, it'd be nail-biting. And then we get some more of that Mad Max gang. Oddly enough, not at odds with Mapool. Maybe they'll even end up being unlikely allies, however brief. Crashing through something which looks like a kind of shipment harbor. Police cop's not gonna like that. But here's a colleague of his, or maybe it is him, reimagined. Ray's here too, now with a bit of a beard. Weird. Is he just being questioned, like a low-stakes early poke before everything ramps up? It sure is cluttered with construction carts down here as well. Workers on their homeward commute, or is there work being done here? Or the aftermath of a crime scene and investigative officers? It's all really interesting trying to piece it together since we're never going to officially know, I imagine. Bustling New York, again, now showcasing pony tricks. Is that a character we'd see? More of that noughts and crosses building, an unamused bus, an ice cream truck, pre-bad times, and hey, mild police conflict. And a whole building shaped like an old steam train. It'd be kind of cool to imagine seeing every character early on during the day, before the events of the movie, and then repurposing them all in this cacophonous prompt. Huh, I can see it. I can see it all coming together. And that, my friends, is all she wrote artistically. But there is more news that came out of this prompt. The art director was set to be Ryan Carlson, and if these images were influenced by them, then it certainly sounded stellar. Previously doing Planes, makes sense, and Hoodwink 2, and the Emoji Movies. And Super Pets. Odd. Jermaine Fowler was set to be the lead voice. I do not know who this is. I do not recognize any of these works, but Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur seems the most relevant. And Raphael Sadiq was on the job of the score. Other quotes we can dissect, mostly from Twitter, following the logic behind the creation of the movie. With Steve Loter saying, "It would have been the grittiest and edgiest Cars film. It was moving the franchise into a new place. I developed this for 4 years, and I was really disappointed I didn't get a chance to finish it." Whereas Sunil Hall added in, "It would have been a very unique and unexpected take on the Cars universe. Still bummed we never got to take it past development, but it's nice to see some of the artists made it out into the wild." Essentially, though the project had multiple versions of the story drafted together, by the time it was cancelled, they actually had a script, as Sunil Hall had come onto the film by then. And from the sounds of their new take, it's a slightly grimmer sense than the upbeat spy elements of Cars 2. It would have been dark and dreary. A real shock to the system of an idea, but so enticing, right? Or as a fan put it, in a world of sentient vehicles, the existence of the train must be some kind of existential nightmare. They are prisoners of their tracks, forced to travel the same routes day after day, fully aware of their situation for their entire lives, with no hope of escape. To which Sunil responded, "Yeah, we totally leaned into this." Steve wasn't afraid of exploring the darker implications of what a train's life would be like. We were gonna get nightmare fuel Thomas the Tank Engine, baby! So why was this production cancelled in the first place? When was it cancelled? Well, it's not entirely clear, but we did get a murmur of when it was supposed to release. As Steve says himself, I think 2021? That helps a lot with the timeline of events. But maybe it was a conceptual thing. Maybe it was because it wanted to be so dark and edgy, and that's just not the Disney way. Making a dark spin-off to a beloved Pixar franchise is an odd choice, or couldn't work with the limitations of a PG rating perhaps. Maybe it was because they were limited by the whole train idea. If they have to follow tracks the whole time, it becomes boring and stale fast. Maybe it was because it couldn't diversify from other train IPs like Thomas and Friends, of course. Maybe it was too New York. Who needs a Pixar spin-off in New York in 2021 when we were all literally set to get Pixar's Soul in 2020? Another first-party production said all about New York. Or maybe, since we're likely around the mid-2010s era of production, the movie just went down with the ship that is Disney Toon Studios, as they were shut down in June of 2018, liquidated into a third studio under Walt Disney Television Animation instead. Whatever the real reason, I think it's a damn shame. It sounds like it was pushing the boundary a little bit with a strong idea and crystal clear vision. It was just the wrong place, the wrong time. Steve Loader would go on to executive produce The Ghost and Molly McGee, and Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, hey, with Jermaine Fowler. And we already know Sunil Hall created The Mighty Ones. Is there any chance of this movie coming back? Well, they're clearly tight-lipped about it, but the Cars universe sure does like growing sprouts wherever it can. And it turns out, yes, there is a bit of a loophole to all of this. As Steve himself puts it, oddly enough, if I owned the story, I could make it as a live action without the vehicles being the characters. So who knows? That was Disney's cancelled Trains spin-off, and all the assets I could find. Every other source was too busy talking about the other cancelled Metro production, as in Metro 2033, and how they were trying to Americanize a clearly Russian story, but maybe we'll save that for another time. Did you know Disney Plus has a new Cars spin-off series? This thing was only just released in 2022. Cars on the Road, it is called. Yeah, that's where they typically are. So while Up's been getting a spin-off piece with Doug Days, and I guess all of Lightyear was technically a spin-off too, let's see what happens next in the Cars universe post-Cars 3 or something. This is a series with 9 episodes to it, but don't worry, we'll be skimming through the details and ranking how each one does. Kinda reminds me most of the Zootropolis Plus series that released just a year prior to this one. Alright. Let's get into things. Episode 1 brings us into the very premise of the idea. Mater, it turns out, has a sister who's getting wedded on the other side of the country. So he's off for a road trip and McQueen is to join him. Not in the easy comforts of Mac, but done themselves to really soak in all the landmarks along the way. I actually somehow missed this episode the first time through, so I thought they were just chucked into the idea mid-trip, but it's nice to get a little bit of context first. Every other character we know is briefly seen and then left in the dust, as our first location takes us to a dino park, which brings in all the more questions on how the Cars universe works, since there were car dinosaurs as well, apparently. Anyway, each episode has a pretty micro plot, and this time, post-establishings, it is that Mater is bored at the museum, while McQueen is much more interested. Mater then falls asleep and dreams about being in the Jurassic Age, and actually, it's a really neat detail here that the dino cars are animated at a lower frame rate. Clearly meant to be emblematic of those old-school kaiju effects using stop motion for these monsters as a homage to old-style films. I can really appreciate that. Anyway, they're attacked by a T-Rex. Classic. Mater tries to fish McQueen out of its jaws and then he wakes up, suddenly knowing the names of the fossils and running away in fear. Episodes aren't really gonna get any deeper than that, but it definitely feels like, what do boys like? Dinosaurs. Yep, plug in a dinosaur episode first. Make it a T-Rex fight or something. Which is fine. A mid-episode to kick off this low-stakes side story. Now, episode 2 is a whole other reference fest. One big reference fest. We've traveled far enough to reach the state of Halloween. It's rainy, it's scary, and the boys are relegated to a creepy hotel. Not far off from the last time they did Pixar spin-off content. This is all one big nod towards The Shining. Mater is scared, McQueen assures him, and then in the middle of the night, it's McQueen that is haunted by the several ghosts of the mansion. We reference the twins, the writing on the door, the unrealistic just flooding of blood.
That's a lot of antifreeze.
McQueen is swung around by several ghosts, speeds through several dream sequences, and then they're out. It's just an episode of being haunted by ghosts. Until the next day. Feeling like a definition project of a direct-to-DVD little edition. Is it smart? Is it funny? Is it cool? No. Seems about as low effort as you can get on the creative side, if you ask me. And it's not exactly like this entire series is just an afterthought. We'll see some decent highlights later on, but as it stands right now, this episode just passes the time. Easily a bottom tier of the bunch. So let's get into more strange Cars-ly revelations with episode 3, all about an icy lake and some new territory for what if race cars had feelings with these land speed races. Pushing the limits of racing speeds with modifications and an arena that allows for minimum frictions and maximum scores. And in the smallest form of a joke, it's not the race car that's set up to join the races, but the tow truck instead. These cars are set up with literal rockets attached to their chassis, so anyone can do it with the right equipment. So of course Mater is all souped up for it. Now in this episode they do briefly touch on a hint of something deeper with Mater poking out an insecurity he has in comparison to McQueen.
I've always wanted to go faster and fast and shoot. Right now I got a pretty good shot at it.
It's nice to see the starting of this, as that is meant to be a theme of the whole road trip. It's an opportunity for these two best friends to get a little closer, as well as seeing the sights along the way. The actual premise at the core of this is pretty good, and I think we're getting the startings of its potential here. So anyway, Mater is jet-powered, the guy before him was literally burnt up into a crisp, wow that's dark, and Mater goes speeding off, much to McQueen's dismay. What happens next is a real shocker of a twist. This episode, I kid you not, kills Mater. He was told to watch out for the speed demon. And that's referring to the Cars universe version of the Grim Reaper. Mater has crashed so hard he dies and goes to a kind of Cars afterlife purgatory. The implications of this Cars universe never cease to surprise us all. Mater's soon-to-be corpse now suspended in midair before its likely disintegrating demise. Wow! Mater gets to witness for himself regrets McQueen will have for this second-hand guilt, as well as having to say goodbye to everyone he loves. If it wasn't for doing a flip and sneaking back into his body to get away with it all.
Well, suppose I can let one slip through the cracks.
Huh! And apparently the only reason it worked is because the soul of the speed demon was willing to allow it to happen. Hooking onto the ground to save himself, becoming a legend amongst the speed racers, and just as quickly fleeing out of there. Didn't think we'd be touching on the mechanical afterlife, but road trips can get trippy sometimes apparently. Easily the best we've seen so far. Episode 4, I'm afraid, won't be keeping up with the same levels of hype. It's the Bigfoot episode. There are Bigfoot hunters, McQueen being the reasonable one, of course doesn't want to get too involved, and Mater is being Mater. Hey, at least their characters are easy to predict, they're so well defined. But they're out looking for a monster of some kind before McQueen is captured by the monster. It's a monster truck. And it twerks sometimes. Covered in moss and clearly not a raging beast, this is a full-on character in Ivy, who just wants to be left alone by these freaky, obsessive hunters. To which Mater hops in, and then joins in the plot to scare them all away, faking an alien trap instead of a Bigfoot scare to banish them away. And that's that. Though something I do really like about this episode is the fact that it permanently affects the road trip for a spell, as Ivy wishes to join alongside McQueen and Mater. She joins the gang entirely. So off they go, all three together, and they'll all reappear in the next episode. It's better than most, but I wouldn't call it the peak of this show. Episode 5 comes around and Ivy, yes, is actually still with them, as they reach the Whale Car Wash. What an iconic American landmark. To which the mossy monster truck is immediately removed with their character quirk. So much for bumps being important to one's character, but we don't talk about the lessons of Cars 2. Mater also goes through and is unfazed. Simple joke. What this episode is really all about is the circus, and what do you know, McQueen is scared of clowns. Clown cars, haha! It's more spectacle from another tangent of the Cars universe concept. I'm honestly baffled there's still more that can be explored in this incredibly simplistic foundation. There's a part where there's an endless amount of cars in a bumper, which again, just so many questions coming out of that. And at the end of it all, there's a big old show. And who better to bring into the act than Ivy herself? Monster trucks are for shows after all, and though she previously has trauma of crushing a poor guy to death in the past, here she immediately is doing it again, but successfully this time. And with that, she's found her place. She sticks around for one bonus episode, and then leaves just as quickly. Which is kinda disappointing, but it's whatever. Kids are here for the main two guys anyway, I guess. And with that, they all part ways on the road trip, and the whale car wash guy gets a post-credits scene. Welcome halfway through the video, subscribe if you haven't already. This practically concludes our unofficial Pixar month, but there's spin-offs we'll be covering from all sorts of other studios if you want to see more once this video is done. But let's get back into it. So come round to episode 6 and Mater now suddenly has some other insecurities to address.
Man, sometimes I wish I was a real truck just like them.
Wait, mate.
Because he's not acknowledged by some other truck, he doesn't see himself as a truck. And then they go to a petrol station. McQueen is off buying groceries or whatever it is that cars need to function that we would otherwise never see or understand since it's never really been shown on screen before. And Mater gets to witness a bunch of other trucks. Now these ones are acknowledging him and all singing and chanting along about being a truck. It's the musical episode. I'm seeing the format here. Sometimes it gets into neon and gets all artsy on the imagery, but also it's an awfully repetitive song. It's fun, you know, just not grandiose. But still, Mater is happy being acknowledged as a truck. He gets some beeps back from the other trucks.
What was that all about?
And McQueen heads off with him, clueless that anything happened at all. It's sweet. You get what it's going for, but it's not the best in its class or what it's trying to do. But now we're somewhat coming to the end of the series. The big overarching story hints are coming into effect finally, as Mater is worried about the speech he's gonna give at his sister's wedding. Cue the movie set episode. Oh cool, they actually kinda directly reference some theoretical Cars anatomy in this episode, with the zombie brain cars connected to how that one guy said behind the windshield is all just brains for these characters. Or at least I see it that way. So McQueen ends up scoring a role for being a celebrity himself, struggling with a vague line and no direction.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Along with several takes of being gooped. Your classic parody of Hollywood. Nothing really added by the fact that they're cars. It's just another episode, but it is some eye candy. Mater then also gets a role and does it very well, telling jokes the whole time that guffaws the whole crew, until he stumbles up to the role of president too, where McQueen starts to get jealous and Mater comes out again with a rare piece of insecurity messaging.
Lightning, you're good at everything. You gotta leave a few leftovers for the rest of us.
Which is so nice. I really want to see more of this. There's something there, but this series so far has been nothing but the simplest routes it can write. And in coming to a conclusion, the movie is cancelled and replaced the next day. That's showbiz, baby. Now it's a musical, but not with trucks. And now Ivy's involved. And off they pop, dissatisfied by the cutthroat nature of the Hollywood backdoors. Alright, but hey, it's nice that the credits each time is a different instrumentation of the same theme. That's something. Episode 8 references Teslas, because we are in the new decade, and in keeping with that, it's the apocalypse now. Second to last episode is the Mad Max episode. McQueen and Mater have reached the point where they're arguing all the time. That's the theme of this episode, only for them to be caught by role players, or criminals? Whatever they are, they're at war, and will happily drag normal civilians into their mess, choosing to sacrifice our boys in the ring of death. But as the two butt heads against each other and rival each other out, everybody's already gone by the time they realize. Because out in the distance is dust, the rival gang that this band of misfits is at war with. You see the theming? The futility of hostility or something. The boys see the bigger picture, jump on a rock, and call out to these pointless warring factions.
Throwers and forget these petty squabbles. Right, buddy?
Right, buddy.
Then they war anyway, and Mater and McQueen get out of there before they can be convicted as an accomplice to a crime out on these sandy streets. Or I assume that was the messaging of the story they were going for. Admittedly, I kinda zone out when I see Mad Max references. The actuals are great, but these always make me eye roll for some reason. And now we finally loop around to episode 9, our finale as the two reach their destination. From Mater's prior presidential speech, he's prepared for his sister's wedding speech, and the conflict of today is about how McQueen can't wait to fly home, whilst Mater wants to drive manually all the way back too. And also, he's anxious, getting backfires because of his concerns over his sister.
I don't understand. When I get around my sister, something unexplainable happens to me.
Here she is, living the life of luxury, as was apparently the standard home base of Mater. You never would have thought. That is a joke. A very easy joke. But this new sister character here is seemingly so lovely until you see...
Seeing as how no one ever knows. With you.
And here we go.
With your laid back.
She's incredibly competitive and down-putting. And also, this character is here, connecting some dots a little more to the mainline films for some reason. Mater and Mato, like tomato, I disagree with that pronunciation, go on to a series of competitions, racing backwards, rock, paper, scissors, all the tiny little games you can think of as they try to one-up each other, completely disregarding the whole point of this day being a wedding, until eventually, surprise character Ramirez reveals to also do family therapy along with every other career path under the sun. That's that joke. Mater and Marto realize they both desire something that the other one has, the wedding is almost called off. It's not. Mater does his speech, chucks in a little bit of presidential influence in there.
It's the brainy-headed scourge, or else it's only a matter of time before they blow up the earth!
And McQueen comes to the conclusion that you need to make the most time with the people you care about, so he chooses to manually drive home with Mater too. And with that, off they go, having only done half the journey. Thankfully, they haven't turned it into a sequel series yet. I love Pixar, honestly I do, and spin-offs allow for all the more bonus content to be enjoyed, but this wasn't special. It felt like basic DLC with very little flair actually put into it. It covered all the tropes, relied on references, any jokes there were about as easy as they come, and the messaging was clearly for the very young and impressionable. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't make something weighty anyway. Our ranking of episodes would go as follows. The worst is Haunted House, then Mad Max, then Movie Set. Coming into mid-content, we have The Wedding, the musical, and the dinosaurs. Then you have Bigfoot, The Circus, and actually a good episode in the Rocket Death Afterlife query of Mater almost becoming a mashed meteor. Cars has been stretched out for a long while now. There were already spin-off TV series, and then 3 movies, and the Planes expansion, and probably more too, and this wasn't much to add. And it wasn't trying to be much. But in comparison to the likes of Zootropolis Plus, or even that one Tangled short, this was just content. Simple, easy, skippable. I'll stick to a commute inside Mac next time, or breach a whole new territory with trains, because that's never been heard of before. So look, I've done a lot of terrible episodes over the years, and I've seen my fair share of terrible movies in all sorts of forms. But it's very rare to see a sequel to a terrible movie. But enter Planes 2, Planes, Fire and Rescue. As I understand it, it's the more popular one to the original. Some people even going on to say that this sequel is actually good. And I'd like to believe that. At the same time, looking at reviews from other people, you see the likes of 5.9s, 44s, and 2.2s. This movie seems to be a little bit of a 50-50. Is this yet again another terrible movie to add to the franchise's spin-off subtitle on Disney Toon Studios as opposed to mainline Disney Pixar? Or is this a terrible movie that has climbed out of the trenches themselves and actually made a damn good sequel? Well, let's go find out, as this is the sequel to the terrible Planes movie. Dedicated to real firefighters everywhere? Wow, is there some genuine heart in this movie? Honestly, I'm stunned we're reaching the wholesome immediately. Though at the same time, the orchestral music underneath kind of feels like we're about to fall into some propaganda. We already did that with the Paw Patrol movie. And the US military do sponsor a lot of movies. So yes, our guy is back. Dusty Crop Hopper, if you forgot his name. I low-key forgot his name earlier. And he's doing his normal life now that he rebuilt himself to be a better person than he was in his past life. He's a plane that's allowed to fly because he was willing to harvest his organs and replace them with racing parts. What a message from the first movie. And so now there's an early cup race going on, which of course Dusty fully wins, as the host goes on to fully exposit his entire past.
The small town crop duster who overcame impossible odds.
All the while we get more action scene montages of racing around this course, as Dusty himself goes on to show that he is a good person by shouting out that his crew are the best that anybody could ask for.
You're a gas consultant.
That's correct. I've got gas.
Yeah, this is Disney Toon Studio. I don't actually remember there being that many fart jokes in the first Planes movie. There were some, but good to know even in the sequel, the comedy is crap. But anyway, as we go to see out more of the world, there's this old guy who's an old fire truck who has to use Rusty's. Dusty has his own water tower now, that's cool. And symbolically, he flies over the farm. That used to be his origins in the first movie. It's so lovely and symbolic. So glad he's not a schmuck who has to work hard labor like the working class. Not for him, he's middle class, he can afford new organs. But anyway, after some less humble origins, he goes out training with his old mentor man again, and then he stalls. And for the very first time, we see fully inside of a car plane in the car, planes, trains, bird planes universe. It turns out they don't have hearts behind their eyes. They do in fact have all of these little gears going on there, and something deep inside him has shredded. It's liver disease, the Planes movie, woohoo! But yes, after some more mild puns that are pretty simple to come up with, like
I kick Aston Martin,
our little buddy here goes on to commit surgery to see what's wrong with the gears. And that in its own way is really interesting. Like, you know what I mean? I don't even need to start the sentence. There's surgery going right into the gear mechanics, and it gets more confusing as we get an answer.
Your reduction gearbox is failing.
Because it turns out here that their gearbox is like flaking off. There were metal flakes inside of their innards, right? So it's organ representation, sure, right? But then on top of that, they go to mention that his specific gearbox is out of production. It's not being made anymore. What? Where was it ever being made? Are there factories that produce cars? Why did they stop? Does this not kill everyone with that organ? Apparently it does. What is the factory system? Whatever the case, they can't build a new one. This is the plot line of Cars 3, in that our racing titular character is going to have to retire somehow. This movie, by the way, came out in 2014, so this is way ahead of its time for the threequel. I wonder if it too will have a well-achieved message over the whole thing, huh? Anyway, the point that Dusty needs to take away is that if he pushes himself into the red, he'll crash. And on that bombshell, we cut to... Okay, what the fuck? Immediately afterwards, yes, we've cut to a parody of Hooters. No, the song in that clip was not real, but there is suddenly this country vibe with a notable theme in the background if you pay enough attention. Nice one, sequel. Now we are to be exposed to pickup trucks saying pickup lines. It's lazy is what this kind of comedy is, but you know, it passes. Anyway, it's all about moping here. We'll start speeding things along until we get to the main plot line. The buddies here are discussing finding him a gearbox, asking out the whole world where they can find one. The old man from the origin of the first movie comes in, so that he'll offer him his old job. He naturally farts on the side, because that is 50% of his character, to which Dusty then flies out, moping into the night, dives himself into the red. What is he physically looking at in these shots? The dial is not on his nose. And then he goes on to crash. But it's a fire! And it's a challenge dealing with all the leaks in the water system since this place is so rural and old. And admittedly, it's a nice little sequence. You can see where the themes are going. You might remember the title of the movie. Another hurdle is the fact that the fire truck guy is so old that he's not the best. Until they eventually decide to take down the water tower. I like this. It was established earlier, it's symbolic as the destruction of Dusty's legacy and career, and it works. And as daybreak comes in and nobody slept over the night, I guess, the old man fire truck and his inability to keep up safety precautions around here caused the strip to be reported.
Is that guy writing down everything I say?
And on that note, the runway is shut down, unless they find another fire rescue vehicle. The whole community is devastated as everyone needs this runway, and of course you can guess where this is going to go. So far for an introduction, I don't hate it, at least not that turning point. And actually, now that we've gotten over the more petty, unhumble beginnings of the first movie, we now start to get to some really good, interesting territory. We'll skip over the childish scene where they plan out how to upgrade the old man and nobody likes the idea. As the fire truck old man is now moping as Dusty comes to visit, blaming himself, of course, because he started the fire.
I'm old, Dusty. Looks like my firefighting days are over.
And it's voice lines like this that are surprisingly good. This is a real, striking at the heart kind of conversation. He's an old man fire truck who can't keep up with safety standards, and every achievement he's ever achieved on this wall are old and tattered at this point. It's a real good stark about legacy and success. The voice acting in this movie are surprisingly too good for what it deserves. Having a genuine, serious, wholesome, but sad conversation in the middle of your kids' movie, I guess I'm just all for them, and they're kind of rare in terrible movies of the past 60 I've seen anyway. But anyway, as the plot continues, we come to see an old picture of him and a crop duster plane, just like Dusty, who is a seat, a single-engine air tanker, an aerial firefighter. You know where this is going. Dusty is now going to be the second fire rescue vehicle. He's going to drop away the career of racing. He's going to solve the runway strip, and he's going to become a water plane. Technically, it's more harvesting of organs to become someone else you're not, but yeah, it's more wholesome this way. And so off he flies away to get certified. With, admittedly, some pop culture music, but it's not horrid. I don't recognize the song, so that's a start. Skimming the details, he arrives, sees a bunch of titular characters that are gonna be the future team members, and then there's a fire out to go to. The land for where he can get the certificate is indeed at a fire watch canyon, where forest fires are very common. Everyone gushes about him for being the celebrity champion racer plane, and then they're off to action, with an actual pop culture moment this time.
Drop the needle!
Yes, this time they're out to play AC/DC's Thunderstruck. And honestly, this feels really strange. You got all of these beautiful droning, craning shots of planes and fire and water, and it really does feel kind of like glorified propaganda. But also, how else do you display this big feat of heroicism and action? You know, this is a military movement in a sense. But what I really enjoy through this initial exposure of fire team rescue is the fact that we genuinely learn all sorts of processes of actual firefighting. Up to this point, the entire Cars franchise has just kind of been racing stories, or weird spy ones, where humans just happen to be actually the cars, not just the drivers. They're very flat, self-accommodating, independent stories of maybe the determination of the human spirit, but they're cars. But it's nothing really wholesome and goal-minded. It's sport. It's only sport. But this looks like the kind of movie that could genuinely inspire a kid to become part of a fire rescue team. And we're seeing all of the miniature mechanics of how that team works. We learn about where the water is stored, how they come to gather it, the movements that are needed to sometimes handle a fire, and what are the pros and cons for certain maneuvers. We learn that they're boxing it in, that there's another team that shreds the trees down below. This seriously plays out like a really strange montage advert. But I guess the little 6-year-old boy version of me inside my brain just wants to lap it all up. This is just really cool. Maybe I'm falling for propaganda, but at least this is saving lives, you know? Theoretically. Or maybe I should just praise it on the fact that thank God they didn't imply that the dropping of water was one big pissing thing. They could have done that in Plane's universe. That would certainly change the entire vibes of the movie, if everyone was just pissing on fire. I'm so glad the water is clear. Oh, also they hook a cow along the way. That seems a little extreme. Anyway, following that, we finally get to meet the man that's going to be able to certify Dusty. It's Blade here, who is very dry and even calls out Dusty for being in the airspace. I'm glad there's someone serious and legitimate here. But Dusty is taken on and they start to rearrange his organs. They cut off his feet and give him new ones. And they have wheels, apparently. We're genuinely learning pieces of engineering here. I wish the Cars franchise did that more. I want to know how a car functions. Even if it's a weird anatomy question, in this case, it's just fully, they are the vehicles, let's learn some mechanical engineering along the way. It's at this point as well we come to a nice thematic piece, which is another wall of portraits. There were all sorts of members of the fire team that are glorified and immortalized on this wall, but what do you have to do to get there? You crash. And then they give us one final piece of, technically, I still have the propaganda thing in mind.
Takes a special kind of plane.
But also, I kind of see what they're saying. These are fighters for life and death. It's such a more noble career choice to make a story out of. And then the montage training begins. This very much just feels like it's sticking to the formula of the first movie, whereby there is a new mentor, they come with information. Here's how you catch the water. Don't fly low at night, that's where you crash. You gotta make sure you don't miss your accuracy. You've gotta push into the red at certain moments, which of course is gonna clash against Dusty's entire thing. All the while, also in the montage, we see that he's being stalked at night by this girl here who is going to be the romantic interest by the end of the movie. It's kinda dated. She's very parasocial. You can see the formula emerging with this exact same timing for a training montage, but it works. What else is he gonna do next? But it does all go by very, very fast. And then to break it all up, we get a phone call from back at home. Let's hear what the buddies have to say. They gotta get their voice actors some paycheck.
Listen to my new siren!
This was the guy I was complimenting the work of 5 minutes ago. They're tarnishing his legacy in the same breath. But following the next day, the park superintendent visits. And you know, he's the bad guy because, he's a car in this Planes movie. He is the big dog of this entire lodge and canyon, and wants to have a grand reopening party for his big wooden log out in this canyon, with VIPs coming along. All the while being stunned that Crop Hopper is actually here and wants to, of course, bring him for that celebrity status.
I smell photo op, flash cha-ching.
But while I have all these compliments about the delivery of everything, and, you know, the plot's okay, it's standard, the jokes are really dragging this movie down. There is not a single good one in this movie. I'm just gonna spoil it now. Anyway, we hear about some admin, like 80% of the budget went to his lodge and not the rest of the fire prevention procedures. Blade complains about there being too many people and low humidity in the atmosphere, though this doesn't come back, but it's an interesting detail to pick up, I guess. And that he used to go by the name of Blazin' Blade. So let's go find out what that's all about, eh? It's time for some character plotline. Yes, this is the only new thing there could be. It's not that new.
Yeah, they're real.
Oh my god. Where we come to learn, in another sort of formulaic way, our old mentor here was in fact famous once on a TV show called Chops, which is a very nice parody of, obviously, Cops. He used to pretend to be a firefighting helicopter with a second guy here called Nick Lupin Lopez, played by Paul Rudd. Erwin? Nice, okay. But nobody knows why he's here now. Ooh. Is it because his buddy's dead? Wow, what a surprise. We'll come back to that later, of course. As it's the next day, there's another fire, and this one is a big one. It's just common in grounds like this. You only hear about the big ones anyway, which is something I guess makes sense. Never thought of that before. I'm in Britain. We barely have sunshine, let alone trees to catch fire. This time, it's another great fire-stopping experience. A little less glorified this time. We don't exactly have Thunderstruck playing in the background. It's more so focused on Dusty as the new trainee member actually trying to do the task and pretty much failing most of the way. He aims too high with the water. He's nervous once his picture is taken for the wall. And even the little ones end up getting trapped by the fire briefly before Dusty does come in clutch and sprays them down so they can clear the way and move the on-fire tree. The fire is contained, it's boxed in, and the jumpers will handle the rest, which, as well, super interesting to learn. Just the fact that sometimes fires are only contained and they have to deal with it slowly for the rest of the night on a smaller scale. We do also learn as well that these planes really shouldn't be out 30 minutes after sunset because that's the most likely time to crash when you have low visibility. Makes so much sense. Doesn't mean that it's been without drama, as Dusty has been flubbing along the way and daring himself to push himself to do the right thing, thereby breaking formation instead of, you know, taking the safest route approach. So Blade only has complaints for him for going out of formation in a life or death situation. Oh, and I only noticed this the second time through. This...
Whoa! That was low.
This is foreshadowing. Technically, it only appears once. Really, I think this probably should have appeared twice to properly establish a beat coming later, but... oh well. But before we go on, I just wanted to say a quick thank you for watching this far in so far. You're at the halfway mark. If you are new to this channel, then do consider subscribing to see any future terrible movies we cover. Or check out the prequel to this movie if you want to lower your expectations. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this movie on the side, so do please let me know in the YouTube comments below or on our Discord server if you want to be more involved with our community. And I shall let you get back to the second half of the sequel to the terrible Planes movie. Cheers! Anyway, we now get to see the superintendent's giant lodge, and they do weddings here. We come to meet of another serious fire rescue ranger in the form of Pulaski. as Pulaski.
Engine Pulaski, sir.
Pulaski?
Pulaski.
Right, anyway.
Well, whatever his name is, it's Patrick Warburton. What a surprise. There's also another guy, Ranger Jammer, who knows about the wildlife populations. You know, they're two good guys inside of this superintendent bubble. There's another pun gag about a guy called Boat Reynolds. And then our main characters come to have a chat with this old RV couple.
We wore off the treads on our honeymoon.
I'm not just stunned by the quality of these jokes, I'm stunned that it is exclusively fart jokes and sex jokes. There is no other joke in this movie. In fact, like, nobody else makes a joke. This is not a jokey movie. It's really serious. Unless it's an opportunity to talk about groin functionalities. Oh, okay, I guess there are other jokes sometimes, like the giant helicopter wind lifter here then goes on a monologue in the middle of this conversation.
He burned his tires. He thought they were his favorite snack.
I mean, it's a story beat, I guess. And then we cut back to the Dusty plotline at the radio with his old buddies again, where he has a final heartbreak, learning that while they did find his gearbox at one point, it was the wrong one. The crate was supposedly mislabeled.
Nobody has your gearbox.
It is the sad ending that retirement is mandatory, and he's never gonna function again. His liver is damaged or whatever. He cannot be a racer, and I love that. Of course I do. British endings, we love our dark endings, but to be able to find purpose in another career despite limitations is brilliant. And to take on a far more noble one has so much more emotive weight to it, especially to present into a kids movie. This is just a brilliant, tragic, heroic story. But now we have our final hurdle. As it turns out, overnight, one of the VIP jets blew embers in all directions accidentally by flying too low over the boxed-in fire. None of the VIPs or the superintendent care about the environment here. And now there are two new fires. It's the real thing beginning, and we have a whole giant lodge of civilians to handle as well.
Fire is about 4 hours from their front door. They're gonna have to evacuate.
All the while at this pivotal moment in the story when the real drama is actually amping up, Dusty is distracted for his own personal problems with his liver. We're gonna stick that it's his liver. He's not paying attention to instructions. He's not split loading the water, he's full loading the water. He drops it all at once rather than one leg at a time, separate to make it last longer. Adding on to that, he goes against orders and tries to restock more water in the lake rather than going back to base. He struggles to catch the water. He's stalling in the water. His liver's giving him issues. It's a proper disaster everywhere. A brilliant culmination of conflicts from personal to actual outside world scale. And it drags Blade back to his olden ways, having to use a little hoister to catch him in the river like he did in the TV shows. The hoist gets caught in all of the trees, the both of them are stuck. The only chance he has is to restart his engine and push it far into the red line to get out there in time. Or else he's gonna fall into the waterfall and it all goes downhill from here. How does it turn out? Alright, it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but we'll allow it. But against these literal life or death situations, which we practically haven't seen in the whole Cars universe, we come to the main points and themes of the stakes here. You can't outrun a fire. That's a great factoid I've never thought of before. Again, my 6-year-old brain is slowly growing. Great to teach on the side of a kids movie.
This isn't about you. This is about life and death.
It's the reality shock that Dusty needs. He doesn't have what it takes, and he's not a noble person. He's a racer, all for himself and none for anybody else. To which he retorts,
"My gearbox is busted! Alright?"
It's the culmination of all of his failures as a person. He doesn't know his purpose right now, and he's just flubbing it, as anyone would with our individualist perspective. To which Blade responds with a brilliant thematic line that shows some genuine great writing intermixed in this noble story that I think can really resonate well in this emotive scene.
If you give up today, think of all the lives you won't save tomorrow.
It's one of the few times that a movie isn't just about achieving a goal or individual success. It's about other people. It's about sacrificing civilian. Sacrificing yourself for civilians. It's a career into safety, and it's not something you can flub like racing.
So what are you going to do?
And so they go into the mines. They're going to wait for it to burn over. It's the only chance they've got. And more so than that, Blade here, the veteran mentor of this safety team, is taking the brunt of the fire, protecting Dusty as his final civilian to protect. And there's some great cinematography, like the fire flakes coming over the dark screen. It's really good. Naturally, let's cut this up with the superintendent talking a little bit, shall we? He's trying to give a speech and ignoring any fire issues, of course.
And you're old and you have a dumb hat on.
But now that he's delayed enough and refused to evacuate all of his people until this very point, finally, all the civilians see the fire in the horizon. Now, everybody evacuates. Planes going up one at a time, which is really interesting. Obviously, this is also a fictional world. Everyone is a car and a plane, so they would have had to have worked out their own safety fire proceedings to leave, but it's one plane at a time, only 5 miles an hour. It's walk slow but consistent. It's interesting. Or maybe I'm just getting old, man. They even give out advice that I assume they would give out to pilots, or did they just invent it?
Remember to avoid the smoke and stay above the canyon walls.
On top of that, there's a train that takes out people in certain batches until it's full and they have to wait, and others have to take the main exit road. I've thankfully never been in a fire situation, but the organization as well is an interesting thing to see actually represented, even in this fictional world where they've got to work out their own routing plans to make things efficient and safe. Maybe it's just the goody two-shoes in me that's interested in safety organization. Anyway, back to Dusty and Blade. They finally get out of the mines. They are alive, but Blade... Blade is too damaged to fly now. He's returned back to base. The others are trying to repair him. He's resting. And now we finally get to learn of what happened to Nick Lupin Lopez. I mean, it's kind of what you expect, but well. As it turns out, Nick was doing a loop-de-loop for his stunt as he usually does on a routine day, but there was a freak crosswind. But the tragic part of the story is Blade was the first one on the scene, but he didn't know what to do. He wasn't a real lifesaver. And so instead of choosing to pretend to be a hero, he showed up here, he got trained and certified, and came here, saving them for real. It's a little standard and formulaic, but it is a real attempt at an emotive driving theme. It can resonate with children. Somehow it resonates with my reptilian brain. And even if it's been done again and again, it's a great formula to play with. It's wholesome and emotive. It's not original, but it's slightly burgeoning towards a territory of making you cry. Even if it doesn't succeed, this is miles beyond practically all the other terribles we've covered this far. Maybe my perspective is just warped from how many terrible movies I've seen, but I love this. And more so than that, the superintendent now has gone to reallocate the water onto his lodge to get all the sprinklers going, taking away from the firefighters themselves. A little bit on the nose to make it seem like he's the bad guy, but yeah, sure. And adding on to all of that, the evacuation goes naff on the back end. The main road is blocked off. Pulaski's sprinkler is knocked off of his persons. A fire blocks the main road and the train exit. And it's after sunset. Visibility is low and we're at the highest risk of a crash. Windlifter is in charge now, and Dusty is allowed back up again. I mean, he's never been rejected airspace so far, but they keep almost running it into a story beat. And now there's more stakes. There's no water pressure. They can't receive new water. There is no lake. It's all dried up.
All we have left is what's in our tanks. Let's make it count.
And adding on to that, the whole canyon is on fire now. This is not photorealistic Pixar, but it's still pretty stunning visually. To have actually the world on fire and this disadvantaged team with limited water supply is just a great hurdle to overcome as a conflict. The music even cutting out as they fly through the fire is some nice, pretty simple cinematic techniques there. They come to throw out their sprays of water on the blockage, only 3 sprays and that's all they've got. The little ones come in to clear the road, and the main exit is actually saved. But it's not the end of our plot line, as those 2 old RVs that we spoke to earlier are at the climax of the issue. They mentioned before at the conversation we essentially skipped over, other than the honeymoon line, that they have a specific place in the canyon where their first kiss took place. And we've established where that is, on the far other side of the park, specifically at a training spot that Dusty was struggling with in the montage for not pushing into the red for it. Dusty goes on to say to Windlifter that he has the plan, he's the fastest, and he'll scoop out from the lake over there that's not dried up. And so he's allowed.
Go. And be safe.
And so here it is. He bumps along the river, collecting whatever he can. The bridge is breaking and the RVs are panicked. Dusty then also flies through all of this cliff debris like there's nothing there, which is a crazy shot to put in the middle of this movie and not really talk about. And then as everything's building up, we then have the surprise in the form of Blade rocking up as another Deus Ex Machina, but we'll allow it. It's his final moment, sure. He's able to fly and hoist them into position to keep them still on the bridge. And then Dusty goes on to scoop water from the waterfall as he flies upwards vertically. I think this is bloody brilliant. I don't know if that's actually a procedure that's possible. I don't know if it's a thing that's a tool standard. Probably not. But of all the ideas you could come up with admittedly kind of limited pick up water, spray it later, I am stunned to find something like this in this movie and actually really like it. A brilliant final execution, and it just, I don't know, it's cool, man. Let my 6-year-old me have fun. But then it also becomes that final last-minute decision for Dusty, pushing into the red line anyway. He knows that's how to successfully do this maneuver. He's always hesitated for the sake of his liver, as he will crash if he does it. But in coming away from an individualist running for a championship trophy for an individualist sport, now he's here to make the move to save real lives. And so, of course, he makes that leap. The music has cut out, he's seemingly stood up top, he's finally making the final play, and then he quick sprays the bridge. The RVs use the chance to race off of this crumbling wooden structure. Smoke begins to billow out of his nose in a way we've never really seen in the Cars franchise before. All the alarms are going off, and then he stalls. And that right there would have been an incredible, symbolic, tragic British story for the terrible plane sequel. But of course, it's always okay to get a happy ending on the side too. So let's see that. The canyon is all cleared. The fire has subsided. We montage through a cross dissolves as time passes and Dusty is repaired after being airlifted to base. Finally reawakening 5 days later, with the semi-romantic interest dipper by his side the whole time.
I like watching you sleep.
Again, this is the most dated part of the movie. No, it's not going to be addressed by the movie. The superintendent was fired, with Jammer being put in charge for actually handling the organization correctly. And finally, Maru, the repair guy, has some news. They've replaced his props, replaced his damaged wing ribs, his pontoons are back on, and his gearbox...
You're fixed!
Wait, really?
A custom-made epicyclic concentric reduction gearbox.
Yeah, okay, see, I have all of these praises for all of the deliveries and the plot direction, as formulaic as it has been. I'm even happy with a happy ending that he's not dead at the end. But this ending kinda disappoints me. While it has been established multiple times that Maru builds things himself, now it's better than new. The very fact that he fixed the main liver problem, I think I don't like. Because on the one hand, okay, it makes sense that he could be even better of a firefighter now. He doesn't have that disability of not being able to redline it. That's great. If that was the final ending choice of the movie, it's not. The expected caveat of this improvement is the fact that that original strip that was taken down because of basically OSHA violations is reopened for operations. That's lovely. The friends can give out their corn and all this good stuff. And Dusty is here to be the second firefighting aerial vehicle. Except he doesn't actually stick to that second shift. Well, he does, but he juggles it as a side hustle. He doesn't actually quit racing.
As long as the boss here will give me the day off.
Anytime.
He does them both part-time, and that is too far off of the happiness end for me. I love the idea that symbolically he can't do his original racing, and so he finds a different career and a noble one along the way. Or even, he does get his gearbox back, but he chooses to stick to the noble career instead. Having him do both, in a way, takes away some of the nobility. After just learning about doing the sacrifice play to saving real lives, he chooses to go back to the individualist sport success as much as he can. And that is a real major dip on the plotline message of this movie. They go on to praise him, saying it takes a special kind of plane to do what you do, but for him to revert back to the start of the movie, I don't know, kinda grinds my gears in a way that rips off little metal shavings. Also now suddenly, the Peak Air Attack team are doing an aerial presentation, which I'll be honest, feels a little bit out of left field and out of character. They are very much serious characters. I can't see them doing something this unserious. Who's looking after the entire canyon right now? It's still summer. It's still fire season. But yeah, dustiest part of it, he pushes into the red line. He doesn't die. He opens his wings, he flies directly up, and he pisses on the audience. And at the very last second, after I was enthralled by so much of this wholesome semi-propaganda, something just kinda gets lost in the message right at the end. But also, I have a real 50-50 with this movie, I think. This is not even nearly a terrible, terrible movie. I've seen a lot of trash. And looking at the reviews, they're not happy. It's mostly pretty rotten. 44, 56, 5.9, 2.2. God, Letterboxd scares me. But I think I get it. The plotline wasn't crazy, it was pretty formulaic and simple. And there was a lot of expository explaining, but I loved that because it was such a cool concept in that it wasn't just telling us story beats, it was reflective of real maneuvers and operations. Perhaps this is some of the best concept for the Cars universe, full franchise included. It doesn't make one cry, but it almost kind of begins to lean that way with some stellar voice acting and great writing in some scenes. But of course, it's also awfully predictable, and the messaging at the end missed the perfect mark. There's also very little humor in this movie, unless it's fart and sex jokes, which really, really drag this movie down. But having a movie that's otherwise really serious, I actually kind of like in a way. Maybe it's just that I'm so used to absolute garbage that I do like this movie, but I think this is absolutely fine for a movie. It excites me and my inner child. Even if it's pretty to the numbers and low-key all just marketing, it almost works. I kind of want to work in the Firewatch industry after this. And in a sense, if it leads to a career of someone choosing to save other people's lives, is that really such a bad thing? I guess on my end, something to consider for retirement, if I ever choose to retire into rural America. We finish off with another kind of propaganda-feeling montage for the credits with just, glorified music and shots. Executive producer John Lasseter. Okay, get that off my screen. And there is a post-credit scene of Cad the superintendent now working at the Death Valley National Park. Ha! He has to be hot. Alright then. There's a reason I titled this video as not the Terrible Planes sequel, but the sequel to the Terrible Planes movie, because maybe at the end of the day, this is the perfect case scenario of a terrible movie clawing its way up and finally finding its place in the sequel. A real stunner amongst the gutters of the Cars spin-off franchise. It's not exactly a diamond, but damn does it somehow have a lot of heart in the middle. And that's all she wrote. From being a typical knockoff terrible spit out to a genuinely endearing idea with its own identity, I think Planes could be one of Disney's most interesting side expansions. Cars 3. The very fact that I haven't seen it means I must be a fake movie fan. I'm sorry, I didn't get around to it. I've seen every single other Pixar project, every single short, no, I can't say every Disney Plus sequel spin-off thing, but we're close. The only thing that's not in my library is Cars 3, so I want to fix that today with this new unwatched series. Cars 3, I've heard that it's good. I think I know the plot. Any mention I've done in the past on the channel about Cars 3, I'll be honest, kind of been winging it. I guess we'll find out what I know and what I don't.
I know nothing.
Yeah, you get that, I.
Focus.
Alright, we're focused. I am Speed. Ka-chow.
Mater, what are you doing in here?
This is my personal trailer, get out. This is where I poop. Cut that out, I hate poop jokes. Does Mac not have any, considerations for the fact that Mater just walked into his behind? How is that allowed in the Cars universe? Where is his organs? Forget the anatomy of a car. How does the anatomy of a truck work out? I am stunned to work out this out.
Well, I can't argue with Doc Hudson.
How true.
That was really sweet. I think I remember hearing that the actual voice actor for that piston Honda. No, that's a
Punch-Out character. What's wrong with me? Doc. It's just Doc. I'm so stupid, man. Listen, I haven't watched the Cars franchise in a long time, apart from Cars 2 a couple years ago, and that went, you know, in my head, and I've been trying to remove it as fast as possible. That was a really nice way of showcasing it in a really nice way. And also, I like all the references. This is very clearly going so heavily to the story of Cars 1. They really want you to forget about Cars 2. That movie, it didn't happen, alright? Mate, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it was nice. I like how it's all coming together to finally finish up the franchise, I would hope. Even though they are talking about making more Cars franchise stuff. So, you know, corporation's gonna corporation. Can never fold a Pixar soundtrack.
These three are fun to watch, aren't they, Daryl?
Yes! A Daryl is represented! There aren't many Daryls in the universe. Most of them are now, you know, buried under the weight that is Daryl Dixon, but I'm glad there's a Daryl in the Cars universe. This is just classic Cars, basically, isn't it? It's lovely. Now, I personally actually don't have a lot of nostalgia for the first Cars movie, so I'm just gonna see this probably more as neutral, but I bet if you're a super fan of Cars 1, you're probably quite into this opening so far. We just want to see car race, you know?
Broom, broom.
Man, that was a great hat. I want a hat like that. Moving Hot Wheels car? Why haven't they made that yet? The techno guy is here. The big bad evil of the Cars universe. Electric efficient engines.
Jackson Storm, right? Great race
Jackson
today.
Storm.
Thank you, Mr. McQueen.
What a name. It's funny as well, there's been a lot of Cars villains, like rivals. They're also kind of all the same. They have the same vibe, the same dialogue, I would argue. Like, what makes him different from, like, the villain of the first Cars movie? Speaking of, look, there he is! Oh, listen to that Pixar flourish. Love, like, the strings on it.
Cutting-edge simulators.
Oh my god, simulations! Oh, I hate him already!
Hey, Cal!
Ah, that's Cal. Dynaco guy. I was thinking about him earlier.
I'm gonna miss that the most, I think.
Thinking about this as, like, a Pixar movie topic in general, you know, covering retirement is certainly a new one. It's an interesting topic, you know? After the past themes of, like, disability, disappointment, death.
Name's Danny, bro.
Ah, you know he's a villain. He says bro. Ugh.
Guido, hurry up!
Technically, this is slow compared to the real life. Have you seen how real life does it? 4 wheels at once? They're doing one at a time.
Don't you worry, pal. You had a good run. Enjoy your retirement.
Oh, man. The music swelling up here. This was an amazing teaser trailer. The fact that I've not watched it for years and years and years maybe shows the marketing could have done better for me. Maybe I was just busy at the time. In my mind, Lightning McQueen's been dead for years. This is all I've seen. I don't know the rest. Oh, what an opener, though. I mean, it was a 15-minute opener, but what an opener.
And there it is, with one incredible move. He's passed them.
I kind of wouldn't mind a Cars prequel, to be honest, like a kind of Doc Hudson story. Oh, I forgot about this. Man, and the fact that Doc's not here, that's tough.
Your history moved right on.
Oh, that's so well done. Like, he's still in the shot. Old Ka-Chow is still in the shot. Oh. This movie already has so much heart to it, you know? It's sad heart, but it's heart.
Be afraid of not having the chance. You have the chance.
I'm very curious to see what new thing he tries. Because obviously, the statistics are all up against him, you know? There's a reason Mr. Beast is on top of YouTube right now. The more you know the data analytics, the better you do.
Wow.
There's a cheeky little wow for you.
Make some changes.
What kind of changes?
It's futile to resist change, man.
And that's our political quota done for Cars 3. So in the Cars universe as well, they have like FaceTime payphones? I mean, I've seen all sorts of weird things from the Cars universe, like the birds are planes. I don't know. Everything's just cars. Don't think about it. That's the Cars universe logic. Don't think about the Cars universe too much.
All right, bye!
I feel like this is just leading into a failure.
Rusty's Racing Center, here we go!
John Ratzenberger, here we go! And Mater's being left behind tactically. His second movie wasn't good enough to warrant him getting this front row choice. Look, even the mountains are cars. That's an old man van. Are the clouds cars? They could be. I'm keeping an eye for it now. Ooh, I like it. Simple match cuts. You see, I like when songs are incorporated in movies. I just like it when I don't recognize the song, you know? Otherwise, it just feels like a pop culture moment. It just feels shoved in. Where is this chair taking me?
Guido, can you believe them?
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi. That might just be my favorite line in the movie. Da-da-da. That's kind of Toy Story-esque.
Welcome to the Rusty's Racing Center.
He's evil. I'm calling it now, he's evil. New character established, he's evil.
You gave us a lot of great memories, Lightning. Memories we'll remember.
Wow.
Hey, you can't say wow. That's Ka-Chow's line.
Please, no picking. Okay, maybe one. Get my good side, though, will you?
This is just going to be the Toy Story 2 moment of Woody seeing all of his merchandise. It's the same. And to be fair, that's one of my favorite songs of the Toy Story 2. You know, when you die, we're going to rip you out for parts and string you up against the wall over there. Okay, now we're going a little bit Incredibles with the electronic suit. Excuse me.
Wind tunnels. Virtual reality. Still working on that.
They love going into the virtual reality side of things. When did this movie come out? Was this like a 2018, 2019 movie? I guess now Pixar's gonna start making comments about AI soon.
Jackson Storm wishes he had this model.
Look at that guy's ass. Oh. That was a girl. Suddenly that joke is not very tasteful. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought, oh. God, everyone's coming out grey in this universe. Everyone new has no color to them, which is probably thematic that this is actually going to be really hollow. How dare they go into data analytics? But also, modern cars these days are getting more and more grey. The clouds are cars too. Are the clouds cars? I knew it. Ugh.
Homesick again, Gabriel?
Santa Cecilia!
That's offensive. I don't suddenly get boosted up with power when I hear God Save the King.
We need to loosen those ancient joints. First,
oh, we're getting some car Zumba. Where's the energy ball?
Aye, go. Aye, more passion, more energy, more footwork.
It actually is casually just working on thighs, bums, and tums of the Cars universe.
Oh, okay, what are you...
Hey! Yoink! There's a lot of body horror when you think about the Cars universe. Like, she just amputated his legs off. His feet are gone.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so let's see where this goes.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Oh, it's not going well. How did that happen? He was the fastest racer in the world and he can't handle a simulator? A113. Easy spot that time. It's Toy Story 2 again. This movie's quite slow so far. You know, we had the first 20 minutes was just the race thing. We're now another 20 minutes in, and it's the same long training montage, but most of it was spent not doing the training. It was like a joke training.
I'll train like I did with Doc. I'll get my tires dirty on every dirt track from here to Florida.
If you don't win at Florida, you'll retire?
I mean, that sounds like a fair bet.
Deal?
Deal.
Give it a moment. It needs a moment to unleash.
Well, life's a beach, and then you drive.
Excuse me? Oh my god, what? That is the last line I expected out of Ka-Chow's mouth. Life's a beach and then you drive? Are you kidding me? Can't believe Pixar just did that.
For today's great test of speed.
You know, actually, when I was a kid, I loved Luigi. Mostly because his name was Luigi.
What about Hamilton?
Who's Hamilton?
Alexander Hamilton.
You know, the guy from History. It was a car.
You do work with race cars, don't you?
Yeah, but never outside.
How dare she only do her job inside? Only real schmucks decide to block out the sun and only do things on the inside of a building.
If the press find you, they will be like many, many bugs on you.
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi. Boh. I love it.
I am a master of disguise.
I'm curious, what's the punchline here? I need to see it. Hey, this is the quick halfway mark to let you know, hey, if you're interested in this so far, please do subscribe and give us some feedback if you've got any thoughts on this series. I'd love to take some tips of future movies to do or ways to improve the format. Maybe I should just be an animated PNG guy the whole time. I'm working on it. It's just an excuse for me to talk about every 3D animated movie under the sun, including some ones that maybe would be a little bit more underrated from the stop motion or 2D animation sphere. Both bad and good as well, since I don't get a chance to talk about good movies all that often. Anyway, that's the halfway plug done. I'll let you get back to the rest of Cars 2. It's Cars 3, what's wrong with me? I'm curious, what's the punchline here? I need to see it. Oh, Jocko Flocko's party supplies. I love it.
Where are the other racers?
Oh, they'll be along.
Are they like monster trucks or something? Have we seen? Yes, we've seen monster trucks. Oh, I like it. Oh, it's a school bus. How does the Cars universe have so much to bounce off? Well, I guess the Cars industry, like the actual automobile industry, is just way off the charts. Let's go racing! It reminds me of the days of Burnout on like the old Xbox, you know? It was like, mwah. I wish there were more like combative vehicular games. Or even movies. I could watch a whole movie of this, to be honest.
I'm flying! I'm falling!
Was that the Pizza Planet truck? Oh, it's the Pizza Planet truck rocket. The siren's gone out, he's just saying it himself. That guy is not of this reality. Not a water truck. What are the odds?
From head to toe with 95 posters.
I mean, is that really her fault?
I can't get any faster because I'm too busy taking care of my trainer.
I mean, he's kind of right.
If you were a racer, you'd know what I'm talking about, but you're not. So you don't.
Mac's just like, ow, that hurt my liver.
When you showed up to your first race, how did you know you could do it?
It's a good question.
I just never thought I couldn't.
I guess it's kind of touching a little bit on the same theme of Monsters University again, of like, not so much disability, but I guess in this case it's motivation or like self-confidence, I guess, in that they never really got to exert the talent and career choice that they wanted, you know?
Lightning McQueen's racing career will be over within the week.
Retirement, it comes at you fast. I don't know how I'm going to retire, man. I'm just going to keep going until I fall over, I reckon. Maida has a phone? No, Maida has another FaceTime tablet. What is this, Cars universe? What are you doing?
Maida, I can't do this forever.
Oh, it's interesting the way that I think the movie's starting to diverge here, which is really nice and, you know, non-standard.
There was nobody smarter than old Doc. Well, except for maybe whoever taught him.
Wait, what?
Doc Hudson's trainer was briefly showed in the flashback. I did see it, and I did make a comment on it, but that works nicely. The mentor or the mentor is still around? Wow.
Hey, Cruz. I fixed it.
How did he manage that?
Okay.
Look how big his,
maybe
you know, his meaty, rubbery finger tires are. How did he get a tape through the hole? Oh, he used his tongue, didn't he? That's the only canonical way he's got a thin enough limb. I hate that.
Aren't we supposed to be looking for Smokey? Oh, that's right. He's dead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, is he dead? Like it makes sense on a timeline front. I didn't know. Oh. These are the moments, I think, in Pixar movies that are really... It's when the dialogue stops and the music gets its moment. It's the emotional heart behind these animated movies, man. Like, I don't even have the nostalgia for this, but I bet if I had watched it 20 times in my childhood, I'd be like, oh... And there he is.
Starting to think I might never meet you. These folks are gonna get a kick out of meeting Hud's boy.
Who's Hud? Oh, Doc Hudson. Right.
Come on. Was that just so that the children could understand who they were talking about? What was that? Oh, all right. I didn't think we were going to get that kind of instrument representation in the Cars universe. That's great.
The fabulous Hudson Hornet.
I'm really enjoying just this like elderly conversation of nostalgic people, you know?
Everything changed when the
Fire Nation attacked.
When the rookie showed up.
Oh, I'm seeing a cyclical plot coming in. I could really take on like a prequel based in the 1960s. I'm sure it wouldn't do so well for the marketing.
But Hud never touched anyone unless he wanted to.
Nice. Just like Cars 1 again.
Well, we both know he was never the same after that.
Time for some recontextualization. Happiness in retirement.
I'd never seen the old grump so happy.
Never mind, you don't need to retire. Just do a career switch. Oh, God, I'm glad they managed to loop it back round to Doc himself, you know? This is what it's all about, man. A sort of bittersweet realization, you know? Yeah, all the pieces are there now. Oh, so they took out her muffler so she made more noise.
I can put you into the old folks' home against your will. How is that?
That'll work.
Come on.
Okay, I like this as a training format.
Reflexes are the first thing to go.
Just outright, you're old. Reflexes are the first thing to go. Again as well, this sounds like Toy Story 2. It's a modern-ish classic Pixar movie.
That's when you were fast, now you're slow.
And rickety.
And dilapidated.
Okay, I get it.
Sneak through the window!
They always bring it back to the cow tractors. They were really happy with that invention from the first movie. I feel like it appears way disproportionately more.
I don't care who you are, that's funny right there.
How do they even milk them? Do I want to know? Are they milked? Oh, if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a dodgeball. Boo! Reflexes are the first to go.
By the way, no lights, instinct only.
Do not drive through a forest without your lights on. Don't drive through a forest at all, to be honest. What are they doing? Oh, I love that he shreds his suit. He's becoming his true self. That's very nice.
McQueen is fading.
Well, is it fading, or is it just acknowledging how good your mentor suddenly is?
Hey, boss, it's time to hit the road.
Thank you, Mac. I'm glad you are our living clock. I like it. I know that was meant to be played for like, oh no, he failed, but like, no, that's a success. There's a whole new career waiting for McQueen now.
I am Speed.
Ka-chow.
Calling the racers to the track.
What was Mac hitting just then? How did Mac make that noise? Like, I'm not even fussed about the anatomy of a car. I am so interested in the anatomy of Mac specifically.
McQueen still has a chance.
Just go do your job. You are a trainer, remember? Not a racer.
Here it comes. Funny that they did this drama in the middle of a race. Like, come on, that's extra unprofessional. On the microphone as well? What are you doing, sponsor?
Oh no.
What a lovely timed crash. Thank you. Cheers.
No, not me. Her.
Well, this is now the slowest break ever.
I started this race, and you're gonna finish it.
You can't do that.
Hey, did I ever tell you how much I love your mud flap?
Nice one, Mater. Coming in clutch. What a wingman.
That'll work.
Why are you doing this?
Seriously, are we like in anime time now? Where, like everything's frozen. We don't know. We're mid-race against the super sports villain.
And this time I want you to take it.
Take the bloody shot.
It's just like the simulation. I'm just in the video game.
School bus of death is after you.
Right.
That was different.
Yeah, sneak through the window.
Now that, I understand.
I mean, that was not what I was expecting at all visually, but alright, we'll take it.
Now you're coming up on the leaders.
The violins are going mad for it.
You are a racer.
A racer that's taking a lot of breaks all the time and is still gonna win. Alright.
And how far back is she now? Look behind you.
What? Ass lap.
Just sounded like McQueen said, ass lap. Do a lap on his ass. I think that has other connotations. Never mind. Maybe strike that one off the record.
No.
Oh, you know what to do, Cruz.
I
do. Respect your elders. Even though she's relatively young. I wonder how popular Ramirez as a character has been since this movie came out, you know? Because every kid, of course, is into Lightning McQueen. That's getting to me too now.
Miss Cruz, I would be tickled pink to have you race for Team Dynaco.
Oh.
Why is my name up?
That's nice.
You started the race. That's how it works.
Lightning wins. He decides when he's done racing. Hi, I'm his lawyer.
We got him.
Oh, I'm gonna keep racing.
Okay.
But I got something I want to do.
Thanks, guys!
Great number. He felt HUD would have wanted you to have it.
Oh. Oh! Wow. That's so nice. What a lovely love letter to, I mean, I guess in-universe characters, but...
I'm actually more worried about what Tex is gonna say, considering he, bought Rusty's.
I made that Sterling fella a Texas-size offer.
So even the villain won. Billionaire got more of millions. Great. Oh. This movie, I don't know why I didn't end up watching it at the time. I think I'm not that attached to the Cars franchise. I love the terrible stuff or the weird spin-offs they do. But this movie, actually, I think is pretty good. I wouldn't exactly say it's the peak of, like, Pixar. It's not, like, absolute classic, but it's either a low absolute classic, if it was, or it's, like, top-tier mid-range. Like, it's really good. I think it's, like, this... I would say, yeah, this movie is as good as the first Cars movie. And I know a lot... Executive producer John Lasseter? Seriously? 2019? Already? Oh, okay, well. Maybe we'll bump that down a tier slightly. I'm kidding. But no, yeah, like that, Randy Newman, what a surprise, they did the soundtrack. Yeah! I didn't expect it to be that good. I think that was just like a perfect, well done ender for the franchise, for the career, for the Lightning McQueen tale. Even though the second movie doesn't cover Lightning McQueen at all, essentially, it's fine. I think that was a great homage to the first one. Maybe you could say it's just a redoing a lot of the steps. But I don't know, I liked it. I really, really liked it. Now, I'm not crazy about the Cars franchise as it is, just on alone, so that's probably why it's not as high as it could be, but that was a damn solid movie. The fact that that's the only Pixar movie I haven't seen, and now I got to properly enjoy a real Pixar classic, that's a real blessing. Whew. And that is, at least so far, the end of that universe. Well, that's a dark way to end the video, but you get the idea. Now, supposedly, the Cars franchise isn't actually fully dead. It's kind of just traded hands, and they are interested in doing more. Whether it's going to be another full-on TV series or another Planes movie, who really knows? But certainly, at least as we are right now, before Pixar does another sequel movie, that is most of the main projects within the Cars universe. Was it worth it? Was it interesting? I thought it was at least intriguing. But for now, I shall finally get off of your screen. Thank you very much if you made it all the way to the end of this compilation. But otherwise, my name's been Daz. Let me know your thoughts down below on which is your fave and what are your thoughts on each of them. Love to hear all your thoughts and more. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio.